Some of the people that cover and study NASCAR, it's like that's the closest race that I can ever remember seeing. Like that much. They're going 200 miles an hour. And it's like 2 inches separates from an entire day's worth of racing to win or not. Because finishing second has to be the worst fit. We talk about Xavier Worthy putting that helmet on in the first time. Finishing second in a race that takes 7 hours to finish has to be one of the worst feelings in sports.
I'd say third. And
No.
Then, and then fourth.
No,
and then maybe fifth.
No, second has to be the worst. Losing the AFC championship game or a conference championship game has to be the worst loss of the season. That's the worst spot to lose in.
Well, I think
because divisional
you
round,
get more money, though, at least for individual sports, right?
True, but in terms of like these guys have made enough. I mean, in NASCAR, if you're one of the top drivers, you probably made a decent amount. It's like oh man, if Scheffler would have just won that, he finished second. This guy's made like $70 million. He's fine. He wants to win, but finishing second after it took that long to finish and the cautions and then being edged out from behind, that Larson makes that run and finishes just barely ahead.
I think Petro put it perfectly. He goes, that literally could not have been closer because it was 0.01 or 0.001.
Like 001.
Yeah, like it legitimately could not have been closer.
Yeah.
Like, when you say, oh, that was close, it couldn't get closer. And you're like, well, I guess it could. This could not have been closer. You could not have this any closer.
And the Derby, like the way the horses' heads bob, like you're talking about just a difference of Mystic Dan's horse was bobbing at that exact right spot. You can't time that up with 16 furlongs of a race to get there to where the head bobs right at the mirror. And Sierra Leone's, horse, Sierra Leone, the horse, was just leaning back a little bit to then bob forward. You move that back 2 feet, and the bob is different, and Sierra Leone wins. Like those incredible photo finishes. I don't remember the last time like we saw even like one of those. To be that close it was awesome. It was awesome and cool that one of those was right here in our backyard at Kansas Speedway. So it's a really cool weekend worth of races. And it would have been nice if the Royals had finished off the series against the Rangers. They go back to losing rubber matches, even though it felt like they were going to get 2 in a row, right? I mean, I said this last night on Sunday Sound Off that what I appreciate this year about the Royals, for those that can watch them, what I appreciate this year about the Royals and the difference of maybe the last 6 years, I think 2017 was last time I had this feeling, that there's a true emotional investment, that I was annoyed after the game was over. Like I was really like annoyed and frustrated, and it has been a long time since the Royals lost a game that made me frustrated and annoyed, and like I'm going to think about that for the next couple of days. Like that game is going to stick with me the next couple of days. They should be 21-14. They should be 2 games back or a game and a half back, whatever it would be. 2.5 out right now, so they should be 2 games back of the Guardians right now, ahead of the Twins, who they're tied with since they finally had their winning streak snapped. The Twins, the 27 Yankees apparently for the last couple of weeks. But I think 2017 was the last time I had this feeling that there was an emotional investment, that a late loss like that, and it happened in Baltimore too when Will Smith came on and blew the game, and it was The ninth should not belong to Will Smith anymore, and it didn't. To Quattro's credit, it didn't. And MacArthur has been brilliant. So this is not a MacArthur, whatever. MacArthur's been brilliant. Closers blow saves. You don't have many Gagnes and Kenley Jansens of old where they just went out there and they were automatic how many consecutive saves in a row. He got hit by a guy that hit the damn foul pole. When did we make that fair, by the way? It's the foul pole. I think that should be foul. That's
not called the fair pole.
Right? I mean, that damned pesky pole over there in right field. That's at Kaufman. That's what it's named, as pesky pole. Every right field.
Every right field, I
enough.
believe, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. But when's the last time you guys felt like this sort of, if you are, maybe you're not, I don't know, maybe you're still, apoplectic to the whole thing, but like this emotionally invested where there's a true frustration when the team loses the game. And I don't feel like it's anything that was like Quattrero screwed him over. It's unfortunate. You couldn't get the run in the 8th inning to give you an insurance run. And then a freaking ball hits the foul pole, and then a 2-out hit that lands 5 feet in front of the right fielder that a little bit further, you make the catch.
It's incredibly frustrating. I'd say 2021 in April, I think I had that investment
That's true. I keep forgetting about that, 14-7 start or whatever it was.
But they weren't, you kind of knew deep down they weren't that great of a team. But it made it frustrating because you knew you couldn't blow games like that. Yesterday, I think, was so frustrating. not so much that it was a 1-run lead, a 2-run lead you had going in the 8th inning. You had your two best bullpen arms still ready to go, and Schreiber and MacArthur both were relatively fresh because Schreiber pitched Friday and MacArthur hadn't pitched in the series. But it was the way that series started out. Kauffman was packed. They have the 6th-run 7th. I mean, just very 2014 like, where it was just a bleeder, and then the one big hit to put them out in front. I mean, the stadium was rocking. You get the daylights beat out of you on Saturday, and then you get this spot start and Daniel Lynch throw 5 scoreless. The offense, I didn't think was horrific up until, the final moments when it mattered. I mean, think about it. Blanco steals 2nd, 3rd. You've got one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position. He's up 3-0 in the count. It ends up striking on the pitch 92 right down the middle. Right down the middle. I mean, you're just thinking Salvi's going to get something in play, hit it hard enough where it's going to be hard to get Blanco at the plate. And MacArthur, he's still pretty new to the closer's role, and we're not going to treat him like Mariano Rivera, who still blew 1-run games before in his career. I'm not trying to compare the same, but that happens in baseball.
I'm going to go back and look to see if that's right.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back and double check that. But to me, that's going to happen. And I don't look back at that game and say they lost because of the bullpen. They lost because they had a great opportunity to make that a 2-run game going into the 9th, which was very important against a lineup like Texas. And so you look at what you did on Friday and then get smoked on Saturday and blow the game on Sunday. I mean, that was one of those series to go, we just had the defending world champs into Kauffman Stadium. We took 2 of 3. And one of those games, we had to bring up a guy who had a 6.87 ERA in Omaha, and he threw shutout ball for 5 innings. Like, that would have been the perfect scenario. But I always go back to put a cap on this point, at times I try to put myself in a position of going, they're not going to solve every single problem that this team has in a span of 35 games or 45 games or 50 games for that matter. This team still lost 106 last year. A lot of things we get frustrated about, the runners in scoring position, the bottom of the lineup, times that the bullpen blows it. They're not going to go from 106 losses to 106 wins and just locking it down every single time. And that's not trying to make excuses for it, but you had a really good team in a 1-run game in the 9th inning. Unless you're perfect in that spot, things like that can happen. And Jonah Heim, he punished a ball that was hung. And James MacArthur hasn't hung many curveballs before since his major league debut when he gave up 7 runs. I mean, outside of that, in the 9th inning, he hadn't given up a run. So that was the first time. And then I like the spot to keep him out there for the 10th inning. Again, I hate the ghost runner rule, but both teams got it, and the Royals were terrible with the ghost runner in the bottom of the 10th. So that was incredibly frustrating. I'm with you. It took me about 2 hours to kind of simmer down from that loss. But, hey, we talked about they're 5 games over 500, and they got a really good team coming in tonight in Milwaukee, but you got your ace on the bump in Cole Reagans.
I was less upset about last night, which is weird, than I was about Saturday. Because you can't lose.
Wow, okay.
The reason is you can't lose 15-4 at home on a Saturday. The place is packed. You can't do that. That is, the Royals have done this multiple times, and it's one of my pet peeves with them. Since 2015, right? So you start to get some momentum rolling. You start to get people out to the ballpark. People are now getting excited. You beat the Rangers 7-1 the previous night, and then what happens? You're out of the game in the first inning. I mean, it was over. And all the excitement, all that, everything that all the goodwill you just built up over the past few weeks is gone on all those fans. Because how many times are those guys going to go back into the game now this year? How many of those fans who showed up because the Royals were winning, they go to a game and you get blasted 15-4. You're out in the first and you go, well, that's not very fun. Now, I get it. It's a small sample. It's one game. But that might be the only game that people go out to. You can't do that. It's always a weird thing, but you cannot do it on a weekend game when you're at home, when you have a packed crowd. That's the one thing that you lose 3-2. That's fine. The fans go, that was a close game. That was fun. I'm thinking the big picture here. That's bad news for the Royals losing 15-4 like that.
See, and I looked at it as Saturday is one of those games that happens. It's not your day. Walker wasn't his day. You're going up against an awesome lineup, and we know the Royals cannot win. They're not going to win a 15-12 game. Not right now, the way the offense is struggling. They've had stretches where they could win those games. I mean, they've had innings where they've scored 7 runs. They've had innings where they've batted around. We've seen how hot the offense can get. When they blew it open on Friday, it was hit, 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 hit. It wasn't an error, a walk, and a 3-run blast. And it's like, yeah, you kind of got lucky there with that one. It was base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. They were stringing those things together to blow that game open on Friday night. Saturday felt like just one of those games that happens. Sunday was a game that you got to find a way to win. And it's been a couple of series now, but at some point, this team does need to take the step from, oh, we were right there. We know we're good enough to beat the Orioles in a series. We know we blew that series. We know we're good enough to beat the Rangers, the defending world champions, in a series. We were good enough to win that series. We should have won that series. To then actually winning the series. Like, that's the next step this team has to take, rather than just being in the clubhouse going, we let that one slip away. We should have won this series against that team. We know we're on that team's level. Okay, we'll prove it. Go and win a series against that team, and they'll have another series against the Rangers to go and try to prove it. But it was a huge opportunity, and I do wonder this moving forward. The next time out, how does MacArthur respond? It's his first blown save in the ninth. He technically blew the save against the Twins game number 1. So he was technically charged with the blown save. Will Smith got the loss by giving up the 4 runs. MacArthur gave up the 1. It was 1-0 going into the 8th, and MacArthur gave up the 1 run. So he, quote, blew the save in the 8th inning. But as the 9th inning guy, he was 12 for 12 until yesterday. So it's his first time he's gone out there and got touched up, and they lost the game, and he probably feels like, it's me. I lost the game. I gave up a run in the 9th. I gave up a run to the ghost runner in the 10th, and we couldn't score a run either way, and I'm hung with the loss in the 9th inning. How does he respond? Does he go back out there being James MacArthur, or is this the first sort of crack in the, hey, I'm untouchable. I haven't been touched up yet. I'm just going to keep throwing my stuff. I'm really curious to see how he responds, because that's the difference between a guy who's got stuff to close and a closer is, yeah, you got beat. Next time out, what do you do? Do you come out and be that? Are you that same guy?
I think you hope that tonight presents that opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out there, and you hope Cole Reagans throws well enough, through 6 or 7 innings. You can go right back to Schreiber. You can go right back to MacArthur. And that's one of those games where it's not, let's say, the White Sox, where you close it out 2-1. This is a really good team you're going to be facing, and it was a really good team you're facing in Texas. But I do walk away from MacArthur's outing thinking he's still one of those guys where I don't know if you string it together to, come back in the 9th inning off him. It's going to take a scenario like Jonah Heim just parking a hanging curveball off the foul pole in right field. It's not going to be he comes in the 2-0 scenario and it's base hit, double, walk, strikeout, base hit, tie game. It's not something like that. I think if you get James MacArthur, it's off of that one pitch. It's off of maybe 2 pitches that miss, and that is a good thing. But still, as good as he's been in the closer's role, he's not a closer yet, where it's no matter what scenario, no matter where they're playing, you're in the Bronx, you're playing the Yankees, it's 4-3. You got to come in there against Judge and Soto and whoever it may be batting third, and that was, a perfect opportunity against Texas. He didn't have to face, Marcus Semien in that inning. He didn't have to face Corey Seager. He didn't have to face he did face Adolis Garcia, but got him out. It was Jonah Heim that burned him there. Maybe that was being too comfortable of, I just got their home run threat out of the way. I'm just going to hang a curveball right there, and that's what good teams and good hitters do. It's you're not going to sneak one past me, and that burned him. But I do hope tonight or tomorrow he gets another opportunity in a tight situation to show that, hey, that was just a fluke. I'll be fine from here on out.
I guess part of me too is, it's funny. I had more anger towards Saturday because
it is really interesting.
I looked all day to Saturday's night game. Like I was so excited. I really was. And again, yesterday was, to me, yesterday's are games that happen. You're not going to go and close out every single game as much as we want them to. How many blown saves happen even from the best closers? You mentioned Mariano Rivera. I mean,
I'm still looking. I haven't seen one. So.
Jose Valverde was 49 of 49 one year in his first postseason save opportunity. He blew like.
Juris Familia was unbelievable in 2015 until the World Series.
It happens. There was nothing that I was left from in this game that outside of the hitters. I mean, again, John Schreiber's not going to have a .6 ERA all season long. He had a run on a sac fly.
Yeah.
Like McCarthy, the ghost runner, but also a solo shot that hit the foul pole. Like, I get he didn't have his best stuff, but how often we talk about the starters not having their best stuff?
Yeah.
It was one time. To me, this all comes down to the Royals offense. It's just, even Saturday, like there was glimpses of them getting back into the game.
Yes.
And then they
kind
just
of felt like they were right there, just like, okay, they're battling back.
And that's where I have my issues, is the underlying fissures. The foundation of the offense is not ideal right now.
All right, let's get into that on the other side. If there are solutions to the offense inefficiency so far, and I do want to talk about Daniel Lynch. What did we see yesterday? Is there something to take away from that? Is it just a spot start so that Alec Marsh is ready to go on Friday? If Alec Marsh is not ready to go on Friday, does Daniel Lynch start one more time and he's just holding the spot for Alec Marsh? And what does it mean maybe for the rest of the season? We'll get into some of those things. We'll talk some NFL football today. And, of course, one of the best roasts I've ever watched was last night in the Brady roast. If you haven't seen it, my God. It was, there were multiple moments where I was crying. Okay, Tom Brady has made me cry a lot throughout his career, but there were multiple moments where I was laughing, crying with the different performers and comics and former players that were up there, and we put together a number of clips that are radio appropriate for the different people that were up there roasting Tom Brady, including at one point at the end, Tom Brady roasting some of those people back. So throughout the show, we'll play different clips of the roast last night, which was just fantastic, fantastic TV. If you haven't seen it, it is really, really good. And shout out to Nikki Glazer. Was one of the top three, was top three, top two, maybe, depending on people's opinion, maybe the best KU grad, Nikki Glazer as well. Grew up in Missouri, ended up at KU somehow. What the hell's that about? What is she, a basketball player from Columbia? I mean, what the hell? All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. You know, man, if you're suffering from erectile... And then at some point this afternoon, Andy Reid will talk, which we'll play for you if it happens during the show. If not, you'll hear it with the program with Srim Petro. All right, we mentioned we're going to talk about Daniel Lynch. Let's do that right now. All right, I'll open up. What do we make of 5 innings, 4 runners, 6 Ks, no runs against that lineup? Sterling, Jack, who wants to take it first?
Slider was filthy.
Okay.
He did a great job, especially against lefties, keeping them off balance. His fastball, again, I don't know what happened to his velocity. When he was originally drafted, we were all expecting 96, 97. He sat in the 91 to 92 range last night, but he was locating. I don't want to say wildly effective, but he wasn't the most precise at times, right? Only 49 strikes of the 74. I mean, it's not a horrible ratio by any means, but he kept guys off balance. And it wasn't like he was throwing a ton of pitches. He just, I think his slider was the key here. His slider, especially against lefties, I thought was very impressive.
I thought the first inning was, you looked at it as probably not to be over dramatic, but I truly believe that inning kept his career alive. I mean, if that spirals and he gives up 5 runs in that inning, he's already at 34 pitches. He's probably, because he's only had 4 days of rest. He started on Wednesday in Omaha. I believe it was May 1st. So he's on 4 days rest. He wasn't going to go deep into the game. So if he gets through like 2 innings, 3 innings after the bullpen had been taxed on Saturday, you go, all right, I'm writing Daniel Lynch off of being any sort of depth piece in the future. I'd rather go Jonathan Bolin or Anthony Veneziano than I would Daniel Lynch. But then he gets through the next 4 innings on 40 pitches. He was very effective from that point on, and he wasn't working with a big lead. He was working with a 1-0 lead, 2-0 lead. It wasn't like he got a pitch with a 6-run cushion. And I go back to what Matt Quatrero said in spring training. He said, we're not going to make it through 162 with 5 starters. You have to have a 6th guy. You have to have a 7th guy, because whether you like it or not, somebody's going to miss a start or two. Alec Marsh, unfortunately, got hit by a line drive. They needed 2 starts in his place. I fully expect him to start on Friday, I think it is, against the Angels, and they're going to move forward with those 5. But now at least it gives you an idea of, let's say, okay, Michael Wacha's been really bad aside from 2 starts against the White Sox. Let's say in the future, something is bothering him and you need to call up somebody. It's not going to really be a second guess for me. I wasn't super high on Daniel Lynch. I made that clear last week. But based off the 2 starts we saw, Jonathan Bolin got roughed up. Daniel Lynch did not. Both of them faced pretty good lineups with star hitters there. So to me, if they need another start and it works out where he didn't start the day before or 2 days before, I'm making the call to Daniel Lynch. I think that Daniel Lynch would be the quote-unquote 6th starter, and that was important to see because if he got shelled yesterday and taxed the bullpen again, 1, you're in a bad spot for this Milwaukee series, but 2, you go, you're going to have somebody from the minor leagues make a start again at some point. I don't know if it's Bolin or Lynch, and right now I'm firmly putting Daniel Lynch ahead of Jonathan Bolin.
So I think the Royals will need at least 9 guys throughout the season that'll start. They've already had 7. And maybe it's 9 that'll have, need at least 9 guys that can make 3 or 4 starts throughout the year. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully Alec Marsh comes back and this is your starting 5. This is your rotation right here. But we've already seen Jonathan Bolin and we've seen Daniel Lynch. And my takeaway yesterday was I think there's some context to it, and that is, 1, he looked good. So, he did his job. It's the first time he faced the Texas Rangers, so they'd never seen him before. And the only batter he saw more than twice was Marcus Semien. And he got that ground out in the 5th, whatever it was. Either way, that was the only one that he saw for the 3rd time, and he had 2 outs in the inning, got through it, and then at that point, Quatrero making the right move. Okay, let's get him out. He's been through the lineup a couple times. I don't need to send him back out there for that lineup for the 3rd time. And I think this is more of a confidence boost of a depth of the organization and the starting staff that last year so much was on the capital I, capital F of what Daniel Lynch can do in the rotation this year, in heading into 2023. If Daniel Lynch does this, if he can be this guy, right? There were a lot of ifs last year, but a big one was Daniel Lynch. And that's not the case. Now it's, if Daniel Lynch can make some spot starts from here, every once in a while like this, boy, that's awesome. What a value you can get from him pitching down at AAA, whether he's getting shelled down there or not. What a great spot for a spot start. They hadn't seen him before. He gets through the first like you're talking about. If Smith, gaps one with bases loaded and 2 outs, then you're like, all right, well, here we go. Daniel Lynch already. 4 base runners in the first inning, couple of walks, a double, 3 runs coming in. Well, maybe Jonah Heim. It depends on the gapper. I don't think Jonah Heim scores from first, but you get the point. Because who knows what happens after that, right? Because now you got 2nd and 3rd, et cetera. I think it was important for Daniel Lynch. I think it was important for the Royals organization. They went to Bolin first. And maybe that was an indication of what they felt, of who they felt was next up in line. And he didn't pitch all that well. And then they didn't want to go back to that well again. They brought up Daniel Lynch. Okay, you're the next one in line. And he went and did his job. So the next time they need somebody, I believe he'll be the first in line. He'll be the first one called up out of that. If he struggles and gets hit around, what do you do then? Then who else is there? So I think that was the important part, because if Daniel Lynch, you're right, if he comes in there and just gets shelled, at that point you start to go, okay, who do they have that can help until Jordan Lyles comes back, which I have heard 0 about what's going on with that. Nobody has said a peep about what's going on with the family issue with Jordan Lyles. Again, we said at the time, I hope everything's okay. And it's even more concerning that it's been a couple of weeks now that you're wondering if everything is okay with Jordan Lyles. And the organization hasn't said anything other than we expect to get him back at some point this year. That's pretty open-ended. That's incredibly vague. We hope to get him back. Not like next week or so, we think. Just at some point this year, we hope to get him back. Hope. So anyway, until Jordan Lyles returns, I think he would be one of the first guys that would go and fill in. If he was on this team, would he have made the last 2 starts for Alec Marsh?
Good point.
Would we have seen Bolin? Would we have seen Daniel Lynch? And at least we got to see Lynch come through and pitch like that. And I think it's a depth piece. I think that was the importance of yesterday. Win or lose, he steps in for the 5th starter and does that. Do your job. Stay ready to go down to AAA, because if somebody else goes down, you'll be the first one up. And we'll see Alec Marsh again on Friday.
I think that was still just a phenomenal point by Jack, because if he would have gotten shelled, if that first inning would have unraveled, this might be the end of Daniel Lynch in the majors for the Royals. Because I think that his grasp on that was that tenuous, where there was not much room left. You can't be talking about potential when you're, 26 years old now?
Yeah.
I mean...
Is he only
27.
I was going to say, I think he's 27.
Okay, the point remains. I even went young just to try and prove a point. Like,
He's 27 and a half.
yeah, you're no longer a prospect. You're no longer that guy anymore.
Yeah.
You have to eventually do something. And this was, I thought, maybe his last opportunity. And got to give him a lot of credit. He did it. He bounced back because he probably knew that as well. Not only did Alec Marsh pass you up for the fifth starter coming out of training camp, right? It was now Marsh, and then Bolin gets called up before you. He had to understand that, okay, I'm no longer this hot prospect. I'm no longer the guy that everyone has faith in. I have to do something or I'm done. And he got it done.
Well, I think this is Daniel Lynch who he is. I mean, I think you'll see some games like this, and you'll see some games where he blows up. I mean, last year, 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 6 innings, 5 earned runs, 7 innings, 7 earned runs. Very next start, 7 innings, no earned runs. 6 innings, 1 earned run. 5 innings, 5 earned runs. 5 innings, 5 earned runs. Like, you see just the up and down of Daniel Lynch. And, hey, you get one of these starts, great. And I think that's what you're going to get from your 6th or 7th starter. You can't rely on that guy to go out there and be Seth Lugo. You bring him in for a spot start and hope you get more of the good rather than the struggles that he has from time to time. And if he's got to start 2 or 3 times in a row, maybe you get an awesome start, you get a crummy run where you get shelled, and you get a middle-of-the-pack one where it at least sort of gives you a chance to go out. 5 innings, 3 earned runs, gives you a chance to win the game. If you get that from 3 starts from your 6th or 7th guy in line, sign me up, because there's and especially on the Royals. Like, it's not your 6th or 7th guy in line for the Dodgers. Bobby Miller goes down. Who you bringing up? Well, we find out, Walker Buehler's coming off the IL. Great. That's who we're bringing up, Walker Buehler. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, Jason Anderson from my friends over at Guerin. All right, wrapping up the first hour here. We will hang out with Mitch Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll play some Chiefs sound coming up at noon from rookie minicamp. Some of the Chiefs rookies and what they had to say to the media in their first opportunity to put on a Chiefs jersey, a Chiefs helmet, go out there and experience a practice. What was simulated sort of a Wednesday practice during the week on Saturday, and rookie minicamp finishing up today. So Andy Reid will talk at some point today later on. If you don't hear it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB during the zone, then you'll hear it with Soren Petro and the program. I want to talk about the Royals offense on the other side. If there is a solution to what we're seeing, can you move some things around without hurting the defense? We'll talk about that, and we'll start playing some of the clips from the Brady roast that are school appropriate or college appropriate or radio appropriate. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. So there's a report in Major League Baseball about, so we know Luis Arraez, if you did not see it, Luis Arraez was traded to the San Diego Padres from the Marlins in a deal that Miami got reliever Woosuck Go. They got prospects Dylan Head, Jacob Marcy, and first baseman outfielder Martorella from the Padres. So they got 3 prospects, and the Padres got Luis Arraez, one of the best hitters in baseball, won the batting title last year, was flirting with 400 at times last year, so he's that good. There were other teams involved, or at least other team involved in talking with the Miami Marlins. Jack, you've got some information that's come out in the last 10 minutes or so about maybe the other team that was involved in trying to acquire Luis Arraez?
Yeah, a little bit of a two-parter here. This one was from Ken Rosenthal in his report on The Athletic this morning. At least one other team, the Kansas City Royals, were in contact with the Marlins about Arraez last week, according to Major League sources. Those talks, however, never advanced beyond the preliminary stage. The Padres' pursuit of Arraez dated to the offseason. The Seattle Mariners also restated their longstanding interest then. In the end, though, it was the Padres that wound up with Arraez. But then on MLB Trade Rumors, they went a little bit deeper into that as to why the Royals were maybe going after Luis Arraez. And they said, basically to sum it up here, that you may also be able to look to this in the offseason because the Royals reaching out now may mean they have interest once Arraez becomes a free agent, and also go on to say this may be the beginning of what to expect from the Royals moving forward this summer in terms of their aggressiveness in going after bats for their lineup.
So let's talk about a couple of things that come from that. So the initial part of that, when it says the Chiefs, or excuse me, the Royals, maybe the Chiefs were looking for Arraez. I'm not sure. Can he catch the ball? That's really the one thing.
Not really, actually. He's really bad defensively.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. So the Royals looking to acquire Luis Arraez. Obviously, they need some help with their offense. We know that. And if we're talking about what solutions may be there, clearly the Royals are looking for solutions as well. I asked the question and said in the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about what solutions might be there for the offense, not knowing that this report was getting ready to come out about the Royals looking for said solutions to their offense. So, interested in acquiring Luis Arraez. My first thought is, okay, the Royals truly feel like they can compete, not only compete this year, but win the division. They're sitting 5 games over 500, and yet they are 2.5 games out. So the question's going to be, which thing is more likely to remain? Are the Royals more likely to remain playing this type of ball? Are the Guardians or Twins likely to remain playing this type of ball? And not all 3 teams are going to end up with 100 wins. Like, they're not all going to win 94, 95 games. I'm going to go on record as saying that. So are the Guardians going to come back to earth a little bit? Chase DeLauder maybe having surgery for the Guardians on the same bone in his foot that he broke last year. That's a guy that the Guardians were hoping to bring up in like August. One of their top prospects to get an offensive boost that, hey, you got this guy, Vinny Pasquantino a couple of years ago when they brought him up in June, July, whatever it was. Like, hey, this guy's going to give a boost to the offense. Lost Shane Bieber. Hey, you're going to make a move at the trade deadline to add. We don't have to. DeLauder's going to be our guy, going to be our move. Well, now he may have to have surgery again on the same bone that he broke last year. Now you start to think if it's chronic as opposed to an acute fracture a year ago, back-to-back years doing the same thing. That's a concern. So the Guardians, maybe he doesn't have surgery. Maybe he's out just 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and then he is an August call-up, and he gives them a boost the rest of the way. Sort of like the Rangers with Evan Carter, the Rays, what they tried to do with Junior Caminero last year. That one of those top prospects, bringing him up late to give a little offensive boost. So the Guardians going to remain. I don't know. Twins have been white hot. They've been awesome. They were the favorites to win the division anyway.
I said Detroit too, by the way.
Detroit's there as well, but it's you're right.
They don't feel the same, but I mean they're still there right now.
It's true. I should include Detroit there. For whatever reason, I'm just including the teams that are tied or ahead of the Royals, even though Detroit, for a good portion of the beginning part of the year, they were ahead of the Royals. But
they're 18-16.
Yeah, well, they suck. 2 games over. That's it.
Swept in New York.
2 games over 500. That's it. Okay. If you're not at least 5 games over 500, you're not on my level. All right. Let's just call a spade right now. But wanting to acquire Luis Arraez, they feel like they've got a chance to win the division this year. But if it never got past the preliminary stages, that also tells me, guys, and see if you're reading it the same way, it also tells me there's only so far they're willing to go to invest in this year for what they would have to give up. Not every farm system is created the same. So when you say this is the 10th best prospect in this farm system, it might be the 3rd in another one, or it might be the 15th in another one. But what it took to acquire Arraez was the Padres' 6th best, 9th best, and 13th best prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. Their 6th best prospect was their first-round draft pick last year. It was number 25 overall, but it was their first-round draft pick. So to get Arraez, they traded the number 25 overall pick last year, a 19-year-old that's only at single A right now. So it's a long-term investment for the Marlins. And the Padres are looking at it and saying, okay, we can maybe win right now. This guy's a few years away, even if he makes it. Okay. How much are the Royals willing to invest in a Luis Arraez or this year? I don't know where the 6th, 9th, and 13th best prospect in the Marlins organization would rank in the Royals organization. But if it didn't get past sort of preliminary, cursory discussions, it tells me there's certainly a limit what the Royals are. They're going to look into different players. Hey, you're shopping them. You're interested. We're interested. Let's start to talk. Okay, that's too rich. Good luck to you. We at least had to check to see what you were wanting for Luis Arraez. They want to make a change. They want to bring somebody in, but I don't think they are. To me, it's good news that they're not looking at it and saying, we got to fully invest in this year, which my dream for this year would be they're good enough to be scoreboard watching through August and September, but they're not delusional enough that at the end of July they add, as opposed to either staying put or selling off a Michael Wacha or even a couple of bullpen arms if they have to. If they can turn Aroldis Chapman into Cole Reagans, I'll take some more dart throws for this organization to find a diamond in the rough here or there when they're not ready to win in the postseason and win a World Series. That's the goal ultimately. And if they're not willing to trade a top 10, a couple of top 15 prospects for Luis Arraez, to me, that's a little more of a realistic view from J.J. Piccolo in the front office of where they are and not willing to do that and risk next year, the year after that, or whatever.
I will also point out the Padres, for example, have the 4th best MLB pipeline in baseball.
So their number 6 prospect is, I mean, again, it was a first-round draft pick last year.
Yeah.
Number 25 overall player last year.
So they're 4th in Major League Baseball, while the Royals are at 28th. The Royals
would have taken a better prospect than the number 6 overall prospect for the Royals.
And if the Royals, too, you're sitting here going, how much do you want to give up when you don't have a lot down there? It's not like if you give up a top prospect in the Royal system, that's great and all, right? It might not be as high as the Padres, but also who's replenishing that? Where are the Royals going to find and replenish that talent? Now, again, we always talk about potential. It could end up being Alberto Mondesi, right? It could end up being Asa Lacy. We never know what these prospects are going to become, but you still need to have depth and have guys down there. The Royals are not in a great position right now. I like that they're trying to trade, but they don't have much that I think teams really want from them.
Yeah, are you trading Ben Kudrna for 4 months of Luis Arraez?
I think you look at this potential trade. Of course, it didn't happen, and we're not going to dwell on the shoulda, woulda, couldas and all of that. But, I think that in Major League Baseball, right, you can trade arms, right? You trade arms for hitting. That's kind of the age-old saying is that you develop pitching and then you trade it for the guys in your lineup at the major league level. And that's what I'm assuming it came back to is maybe, if you had somebody like Miami throwing around some names like a Ben Kudrna, throwing around a name like Blake Walters, who the Royals are really high on, It's like, okay, no, we're not going to deal those guys off. Now, you get into the range of the 10 to 20s, right? Hunter Owen, who was taking last year, is he somebody you could be interested in? Maybe it's somebody like a Chandler Champlain who's right on the doorstep, a Mason Barnett who's kind of near the doorstep. But I think, if anything, what this proves is the Royals are going to be more willing this summer to pull the plug on guys that are not cutting it. That's to me is what it signaled. And I think from the articles it showed that, if the Royals were going to make a move, they would have predominantly played a rise at second base and DH. So Michael Massey's there right now, so you go, I doubt they would pull Massey from the everyday lineup because he's also got a 7-game hitting streak right now, and they have clear value for him. They really like Michael Massey. Now the DH spot, Nelson Velasquez has been a black hole in that lineup. Hunter Renfroe has struggled this year. And I wonder if the Royals get to a spot, let's say by June 1st, and they're 3, 4, 5 games over 500, and they feel like we're really missing something in this lineup that can take us to a comfortable 8 games over 500, 9 games. And I almost wonder if you have J.J. McCool in this front office, not so much saying 1 or 2 moves here is going to make us a World Series contender, but almost, not selling your soul to get into the playoffs. But I think it goes a long way with the fan base if you are putting in the chips to go, hey, we're 5 games over 500 at the deadline. We need to make a push here and then give ourselves a chance because you do never know. Last year, Arizona limped. I mean, they were awful for the last month of the season. They get to the World Series. It's not that you look at this team and say World Series contender. I think everybody would like to see what a wild card team looks like.
I love that from John Sherman, by the way.
Exactly. And right now, you look at this lineup, you look at this bullpen, you look at this rotation. They are 20-15 through the first 35 games. But is this a team that can maintain that level of consistency for 162? Clearly, this shows that the front office has doubts about some of these guys being able to give you much.
And I think Luis Ariz was the perfect player. Again, we're saying, second base, left-handed bat, Michael Massey, Adam Frazier, the list goes on and on. But at the same time, when you look at the batting average and on-base percentage, we've talked about it, it's been a black hole, especially with Les Norman. How do you get more guys on base in front of Bobby Witt Jr.? And it's actually incredible what Salvador Perez has done RBI-wise, considering Michael Garcia's getting on at a 280 clip. Vinny Pasquantino's not been great this year. Bobby Witt Jr., obviously, he's been the guy that Salva's been driving in a ton. But if you can extend your lineup, especially at the top, maybe that does allow Michael Garcia to move down a little bit.
Ariz would be your leadoff hitter. He batting .311, getting on base at like 370.
I mean, he literally got on base at, a 450 clip last year, batting .393. I mean, it was absurd. So I see what the Royals are trying to do. They're basically saying, we don't care about position right now. We'll figure that out later. We need to get better and extend this lineup. And I think you're right here. I think maybe Nelson Velasquez is the guy that gets the axe. Maybe you can platoon Hunter Renfroe and MJ Melendez in the outfield, and all of a sudden you have just as your perpetual DH. Because I think Michael Massey's bat right now, that's one of the bats that, at least currently, the Royals feel comfortable about. He's been a solid number 5 hitter for them right now. But they need something from the DH because the DH has given them literally nothing.
At what point do you think, or does it have to get to for, let's say, Hunter Renfroe? Well, I mean, he's hitting the ball hard. Cool. Right at guys, whatever. Even when we're like, Hunter Renfroe is doing pretty good. Yeah, okay, that's cool. He's had a couple of hits in his last 8 games. So that's nice for him to do that. And he did walk that one time. That's pretty cool for Renfroe to do that. At what point do the Royals look at it and go, look, we know we owe him money, and he's got what? $6.5 million is what they owed him this year. $5.5 for the contract and a $1 million buyout for the option next year. So 6.5. So whatever prorated that would be whenever they decide, if they get to that point of it's not working. And maybe they don't have to release him, DFA him, whatever. If maybe they just simply find a spot on the bench for him. Because Hampson and Velasquez and Renfroe, those last 2 that are more everyday players, and Hampson just from time to time, so he's less of the problem. But I don't know if the easy solution is Waters, Prado, Lofton instead of those guys. Waters in right, Prado DHing, Lofton playing Garrett Hampson's role. And are you better offensively with that instead of Velasquez, Renfroe, and Garrett Hampson? Are you as good defensively? Because you're really just taking out a utility guy for a utility guy, a DH for a DH that can also come in and play first base, so Salvi doesn't have to be a late inning guy and take out your DH or anything like that to play first. You've got Prado that can play outfield as well, and Drew Waters is not going to kill you in right field as a defender, and maybe he'll offer more with the bat. I don't know if those are the solutions, but it would be the Royals pulling the plug. If they make those moves, it feels like there's not much going back. If Hunter Renfroe gets benched for Drew Waters and then Waters struggles and you go, all right, Renfroe, you're back up, Waters is sent back down. He's also a professional making $6 million this year. So, you gotta live with the ups and downs of that.
How hilarious is this that we're talking about this when in every other previous season we've talked about how, well, if this goes right and all these young guys, and we're like, just get some veterans. It'll raise the floor. And the floor has actually been lowered by those said veterans that were brought in.
It's the worst hitting outfield in baseball.
Oh, has to be.
I mean, I haven't really looked, but I'm just assuming.
I wouldn't imagine it's very close.
I can't imagine there's another outfield that's worse at the plate than this outfield.
And so you're looking around, and my affinity for Drew Waters. I think that's the first step, whether it's Kyle Isabel, whether it's sitting Nelson Velasquez down, because I think, Jack, you mentioned he does still have a minor league option left, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So you could send Velasquez down, bring up Drew Waters if you're still wanting to get the center field defense from Kyle Isabel. That's a way you can rock it without having to DFA a Hunter Renfroe yet, without having to DFA a Garrett Hampson yet. I think that's probably the first step that I would do is bring up Waters and send down Velasquez. I don't know what you guys would do, but that's the first move that I would make.
Well, I think also this idea of maybe going after a rise before the trade actually happened with San Diego, I mean, it shows what the philosophy was this offseason, right? They could have gone into 2024 and said, well, Brady Singer's going to bounce back and he can be the number one and number two again. They said, no, we're going to get somebody that we know what they can give us. They knew what Seth Lugo could give them. I think they feel like Michael Walker can give them more. I don't believe he's a 5.50 ERA guy. But then you look at the help for this lineup. They know they need help in the outfield. They know they need more consistent at-bats from guys in the lineup. And as good as Drew Waters has been in AAA, it's AAA. Right, and I think Drew Waters has value for this team. But you bring up the point of, you bench Renfroe, you bench Velasquez and go, all right, it's Waters' turn. Well, if Waters doesn't work out, now you've demoted Velasquez, and what if he starts struggling? Now, where's the confidence level at that point? You bench Renfroe, now Renfroe's not playing every single day. So to me, you get to a point where maybe you are still 5 games over 500 a month from now, and you're still not getting anything from right field. Instead of saying, all right, our ace card here, our guy waiting in the wings, is somebody who's never been a great major league hitter, but could be good value for us. And that's why I think with like Brady Singer, they still gave him a spot, but it was as the number 3, number 4 starter instead of a number 1, number 2. Can Waters be a great everyday player at the major league level? It comes down to, do J.J. Piccolo and company risk that? If they say our lineup's good enough right now, if Waters is great, well, fine and dandy. You have a great defender and a great hitter. But if you go out there and add somebody who's shown over the course of 162 is a consistent hitter, is somebody right now that's playing well, not like Hunter Renfroe, who wasn't good last year, was good the year before and could bounce back. This is maybe the idea of, if we're in it, if we need that extra push, it's not from somebody we have in the minor leagues. It's somebody elsewhere that can immediately come in and make an impact, and we're not going, well, give him 2 weeks, give him 3 weeks. It's if Arise in a perfect world, if Arise came here, they didn't have to give up a lot. I mean, Arise would be, as you said, the leadoff hitter. He's hitting 311. He's coming. I mean, he's probably going to be the 2-hit guy most nights. And right now, it comes down to, when do you pull the plug on a Renfroe? When do you pull the plug on a Velasquez? And who is that option? I'd imagine, first case if they can't get a trade done, it's going to be Drew Waters because, as you pointed out, he's sitting his tail off in Omaha.
He's OPS in 941. He's slashing 322, 408, 533. He's cut back slightly. He's always going to strike out a lot, but he's cut back slightly on the strikeout while the walks have been up. A lot of doubles, a lot of RBIs, and again, solid defense. And I don't understand this with him compared to some of the other guys. It's not like he's been atrocious in the majors. His OPS plus is 93, so he's been 7% worse than an average hitter with above average defense. Like, he has a floor. He does strike out a lot, and so there's going to be some variance there, but he does have a floor at least with defense. You don't have that with Velasquez. You don't have that right now really with MJ Melendez. Isbell, great defender, so you have the floor there. But Drew Waters, even when he goes to his slumps, offensively is going to be better than Isbell. I never understand
Better than
this.
what Renfro is right now. It feels
Way
like.
better than Renfro, better than Hampson. At least Drew Waters has some speed too. I just don't understand this.
I'm fine with what the see. I don't want to put Isbell into the same boat with Renfro and MJ Melendez. I'm fine, from what Isbell's been doing as of late. I'm fine with what they're getting defensively in center and him being your number 9 hitter. You can't have corner outfielders playing the way that MJ Melendez and Hunter Renfro are. If you've got a really studly defensive center fielder that's going to be more of a lighter hitter, but also has done a pretty good job of sparking the offense in different times over the last week or so.
Agreed.
I think that's different than a Renfro who's a right fielder that's just playing generic defense. I mean, he's playing a representative right field. He's got a great arm, but a representative right field and is doing next to nothing at the plate. He's not getting extra base hits. He's not getting on base. And MJ Melendez in left, who's, again, playing a representative left field. He's not, the frying pan that he had out there, early last year when he moved out to the outfield. But he also has not been good as of late, and he's really regressed to whether that's the mean or regressed to just the floor or regressed to what he looked like at the beginning of the season last year. Whatever it is, the corner outfield spot for the Royals has been brutal. And so if Isbell remains in center field, I'm perfectly fine with that if they can find a way to improve what the corner outfield spot looks like. And it seems the easiest move, but there may be domino implications, even though it's easy right now on the surface. Matt Quattrero is the manager, J.J. Piccolo the GM, knowing what the next step and what the unintended consequences might be of the easy move might be, well, let's put in Drew Waters in right field, and Hunter Renfro can be a guy that can be pinch hitting off the bench. And, if MJ Melendez has to cover, pinch hit for MJ Melendez, well, Renfro can now go play left field. Or Waters can play left field, Renfro right, probably the more realistic solution with that. That seems easy on the surface, but these guys are also dealing with the personalities in the clubhouse. But it is about being a professional, too. I mean, you're cashing the check. You're not performing. Like Will Smith was like, yeah, I'm good. You took me out of it. I just want to do whatever it takes. And I'm pitching mop-up duty now, which is essentially being a pinch hitter on the offensive side. And so if they have to do that with Renfro, if they're looking for Luis Arraez right now, it means they are actively looking for solutions to what is going on with their offense. And if they were going to play him at DH, well, then they are ready to find a solution for Nelson Velasquez. If it meant that, they played him at second base or whatever, and Massey is DH, or find a right. I don't know where else Luis Arraez would play. He certainly doesn't profile as a first baseman. He
does though.
Not hitting no power whatsoever though.
Sure.
I mean, he can't be a guy that hits singles at 325 clip because his value is in batting 325. If he's batting 270, he's a below average guy because defensively he's below average and he doesn't hit for power. So if he's not batting 330, he's not giving you a whole lot back. But they're actively looking for solutions. And DH would be filled by Luis Arraez probably.
I think, too, what we have to go back to with the front office and, the coaches at the minor league level, player development. I mean, they know these guys a lot better than we do or the fans do. So it can be easy for us to go, well, Drew Waters hitting really well in Omaha. Why isn't he up here? I mean, I go back to spring training, and now spring training is different than the regular season. Prado was the best hitter on the team in spring training, and they said, no, we need to see it in Omaha. And he's going down there, and he's striking out, again, 30 to 40% of the time and not getting on base as much as we'd like to. So there could be, I'm just saying could be for this hypothetical, a scenario where they're looking at Drew Waters and saying, he's hitting well right now, but maybe there's a voice in there saying, I don't think it's going to translate to the big league level. And at that point, we're not willing to make a move, which is why the domino goes to looking for somebody like Luis Arraez of how do we make this team better? How do we make sure that we look up in July and we're still right there on the wild card picture? We're right there in the divisional race. You have to add more consistent bats. And that's why I look at somebody like Drew Waters. He could be a great everyday outfielder. He very well could be. And he's put together a resume at the major league level where it could work out, but never been the from March to September the 162 guy. Maybe they're looking for somebody other that is right now that 162 guy, and you look for somebody like in Colorado, they're terrible. Miami, again, they were looking at Miami because Miami's already selling.
Yeah.
Maybe look in division at the White Sox. There was a report they're willing to deal Eloy Jimenez. Do you look at Eloy Jimenez and see if you'd give up somebody? I mean, clearly there's a lot of Royals influence in that front office. Maybe you could strike a deal like that. But maybe look at Drew Waters too. What if he's a part of one of those deals? You could make a case, a former top 100 prospect. He's hitting really well in Omaha. He's blocked, right? At least right now he's blocked. And maybe you throw him into a deal where that seasoning always of, hey, it's a former top 100. I mean, the Royals got Drew Waters when he was the number one prospect in the Braves system, and that was kind of the sweetener of we're going to give up draft compensation because he's the number one prospect in the system. And I wouldn't rule it out that maybe they're looking at Drew Waters more so as a trade piece than as an everyday piece. You know, maybe they feel like Melendez is right around, coming around the corner here. Maybe they feel like Renfroe is coming around the corner. Maybe they do, or maybe they don't, and that's why they were looking for Luis Arraez. But certainly a lot of things to factor in about something like this, but at least we know J.J. Picollo may be able to back up what he called himself as being transactional a couple years ago.
I am, I mean, I don't know if this would have been the answer or the solution, but, if were they kicking the tires on a Tommy Pham? The guy signed with the White Sox for $1.5 million. A guy that got on base at 340 last year. He's 35 years old, but it ain't exactly like Hunter Renfroe is a spring chicken. Hunter Renfroe ain't a multi-year deal that you're bringing in to hope that he's going to be around for the next 4 years, right? He ain't that guy. And, Tommy Pham signs with the White Sox late, and he's already their number 2 hitter. Now, it ain't a good team, but if I'm just, you mentioned outfielders, right? You mentioned, okay, they're looking at different teams. Maybe they'll look in division with, Chris Getz and the White Sox. No thank you to Benintendi, because he is just a shell of what he once was. At one point, he's brutal. But Tommy Pham had some juice last year for Arizona, and I think he's got some left. So there is a little bit of a surprise if they were looking to trade for Arraez that, I don't know, maybe they did. Maybe they looked into Tommy Pham and he was like, no, I want to go to the White Sox. It's been my lifelong dream to play for a team that's going to win 45 games.
Or to get on a contender again, kind of playing the, I'm going to go to a terrible team. They're going to trade me because I'm valuable, and I'll end up again on the Dodgers
If I go to a team that might finish second or third, they may not trade me at the trade deadline. I go to a really bad team, perform, I get traded to a contender. It's an interesting, that's chess right there.
Yeah,
that ain't checkers. Absolutely. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We got to get into some of these roast clips from the Tom Brady roast that we'll play coming up next right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Coming up at 1 o'clock, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Is he good today? Is he in? Is he in? Have you guys texted him? Because I know he was on the cul-de-sac couples retreat over the weekend. I don't know if did he make it back safe and sound? Is he okay? Is he in?
Might be injured.
He might be. I don't know. Maybe the pride. I'm not sure what took place at the cul-de-sac couples retreat for Mick Schaefer. So if he's here, we will talk to him coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Whether he's here or not, we will play some Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Probably the funniest from the weekend was the roast that took place last night. Netflix Live. I don't know, maybe it was the roast. Maybe it was Kendrick and Drake roasting each other back and forth. And Drake eventually, like the white flag was flying out at Kansas Speedway, and I felt like that could have been Drake just waving that thing with 1 lap to go and him I'm done. Please, I mean, just let me, it's over, okay? The horse is dead. Okay, come on. And J. Cole's just laying back going, my name's Paul, and that's now between y'all. I am not in this thing anymore. But that could be the funniest, too. Who knows? But the funniest ended up being the roast last night from Netflix Live, and there were a lot of really, really funny things that took place. A lot of shots taken at everybody. It's a roast. It's what happens. And a lot of things that are not appropriate for, I don't know, maybe some adults. Who knows? Certainly not for the radio. So I tried to find the most appropriate, funny clips from the roast and broke them up into different presenters. There are some presenters where it just wasn't going to be. It's just going to be, all right, there are some funny, I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing to the point that I can play this on radio, keep my job, and still laugh.
I can't believe there's not any Gronk clips in here.
Yeah, what?
I'm missing all the Gronk clips.
I know. Yeah,
those?
I tried to find, he was just so intimidating. Like, he was just like right in your
There's so many
face.
funny ones that.
Yeah. You're being sarcastic,
Oh,
right?
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And that's why I didn't cut any
Laying it on
Gronk
pretty
clips.
thick.
Yes, that's good because I'm laying it on pretty thick. You know what? Let's hear from the first couple of Kevin Hart hosted the thing last night, and Jeff Ross is the GOAT of roasting. Pretty sure he wouldn't have a job if it weren't for roasts, and so glad that roasts are back because Jeff Ross, we see him again. He's lost a lot of weight. Good for him. He looks good. Well, he's lost weight.
I wouldn't say he looks good.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
he's lost
yeah.
weight. But here's a few clips from Kevin Hart and Jeff Ross at the Brady roast.
Hey, man, I love the fact that you and Giselle are finding the way to co-parent and still keep it together, man. Giselle is actually here supporting you tonight, but just for full transparency, she came as Antonio Brown's +1. How does that... What? 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 What did I say? What did I say? Single life is what you deserve because you had no choice. Giselle gave you an ultimatum. Giselle said, you retire or we're done. That's what she said to you, Tom. You retire or we're done. Let me tell you something. When you got a chance to go 8 and 9 and all it will cost you is your wife and your kids, you got to do what the you got to do. Do you understand me? Yeah. You got to do it.
On the first day of training camp, that scrawny rookie famously walked into the owner, Robert Kraft's office and said, "I'm the best decision your organization has ever made." Would you like a massage? I love Robert Kraft. I love
it again.
Okay. Tom, I really wanted you to be our first goat to be roasted because you're an example to future generations that if you work hard, eat right, film the other team's practices, deflate the balls, and have the NFL make new rules just for you, then you too can be the third most famous guy in a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. USA!
Those were the clips that were radio appropriate.
Yeah.
From Kevin Hart and Jeff Ross. Just so you know, how long, it was like 25 minutes in when Kevin Hart and Jeff Ross were done. So yeah. But there's a lot more. But I thought, you know what? Out of all the ex-players, I thought Drew Bledsoe was the best. He was really good. He had a lot of really good lines. He delivered them well. You could tell early on how nervous he was. In fact, you know what? Let's play the Drew Bledsoe one, too. We got about, 6-7 clips of these. But let's play Drew Bledsoe, who I thought was the best former athlete that was up there roasting.
Steve, this is really cool, man. This reminds me of the first round of the draft. You remember Randy? Really? You remember? Yeah, first round. It was pretty cool, right? So look, I've got to admit, I'm a little bit nervous tonight. I truly am. So last time I was up on stage before Tom Brady, I ended up in the hospital for 5 days and I lost my damn job. So, real talk, a lot of people just assume that I have a lot of animosity toward Tom Brady. But I'm here to tell you tonight, in front of millions of people, that you're correct. I hate him. Hey, but let's just be honest. A lot of you guys kind of hate him too. I mean, who's more hateable than the most successful quarterback of all time? Except maybe Belichick. So there were rumors that Coach Belichick was going to be here tonight. Turns out he has some time on his hands. Hey, look, at least when I got fired, somebody else wanted me.
What a line. What a line.
I was worried he was behind me. Rob's here tonight. He's Tom's favorite tight end that wasn't a murderer. You know, when most people lose their jobs, they start drinking. I started a winery. It's called Double Back. It's named after what Tom does every time he walks past a mirror. You know, my favorite wine is our world-class Cabernet. Tom's favorite wine is, where's the flag?
Sounded just like him, too. That was a pretty good impression.
You know, obviously, buddy, you got really used to not being touched, right? Just like the end of the marriage. Buddy, you know, you have more rings than I do, but I've experienced a couple things that you will never experience. You know, the feeling of being the #1 overall draft pick in the NFL. And a 28th wedding anniversary. It was yesterday.
I thought Bledsoe was pretty good. Of the former players,
Yeah.
Julian Edelman I thought was good. The range,
Yes.
the range of the jokes from Julian Edelman were really interesting. Surprising risks
The,
that Julian Edelman took. I will say that.
The Belichick one was great, and I will give
We'll play some
Belichick
clips from Belichick later on.
credit though. He took it well. You
Yeah.
never know how he's going to react to former players giving him
Yeah.
a hard time.
I would hope that he would take it in good fun. It's a roast. You're supposed to.
The way he was laughing made you really. You're
There
like,
were some times where he was laughing like, this is uncomfortable. Okay, I'm laughing, and okay, do you really hate me? You probably do.
There is nothing to me that can earn your respect more than being on a roast and taking all the jokes well. Like the Justin Bieber roast. I didn't like Justin Bieber before the Justin Bieber roast, and then I really liked Justin Bieber after that. Because the way you can take jokes like that,
Yeah.
like I don't know how you walk away from last night. And again, I hated Tom Brady's entire career, but he goes up there and took some pretty big haymakers from people all night long. Like to be able to sit up there and do that and laugh it off. I used to say with Bill Belichick, even if it is uncomfortable, like you're not sitting up there pissed. Now he did get mad at one joke that Jeff Ross had about
Yeah.
the massage and stuff, but one
And there was
over
there was almost a Chris Rock moment where he
Yes.
walked up to him and don't say that bleep again. And Jeff Ross like, okay,
okay,
all right, okay, I see that there is a line. All right,
Yes.
cool, good to know. Good to
that
know,
was the
Tom.
line, though.
I know, right? But
of all the jokes, that was the line.
to
I thought
Brady,
the
that was the line with Robert Kraft. I mean, that's like a second father or grandfather to Tom Brady.
I mean, going up there and having to take punches about your marriage.
I mean, right?
Like, damn.
Giselle's
Not only
here.
that, infidelity as well.
She's Antonio Brown's +1. Jeez,
Kevin
man.
Hart brought up the karate coaches.
I know, right?
It was like, wow, if you can take that in front of everybody.
You didn't notice that she spent 8 hours at jiu-jitsu class and she's still a white belt? Like, you didn't notice that, Tom? Yeah, I mean, look, I will say this. Since he's retired, I've liked Tom Brady a lot more.
Yeah.
Since he's retired.
Yes.
Okay, and I think he's going to be good in the booth. I think he's going to be a good broadcaster because I do think he's one of the guys that is willing to put in the work and wants to be as good as he can be in whatever he tackles, whatever he tries to do. I think he's just wired that way.
Well, besides his marriage.
And also his.
Well, he wanted to go and win one more. He wanted to go 8-9.
8-9.
You know, you do what the bleep you got to do.
He's also kind of got a good resume, so you can't really check him when he calls
Right.
people out on the field, so that'll work out well.
Yeah. No, I thought he took the jokes pretty well, especially the ones about his marriage ending, and a lot of jokes about his marriage ending. I mean, a lot of jokes
You
about.
got to go the 8-mile route. Again,
Right, yeah.
Take away all the ammunition right out of the jump.
That's right. Yeah, we'll hear Brady's his response. Always have like the State of the Union and then the other party's response. We'll hear Tom Brady's response from the roasters later on. Peyton Manning, Bill Belichick, Nikki Glazer was really good.
Electric.
The things that we could play, Nikki Glazer was really good. And there were a lot of other, like we aren't even going to play what I think was probably the two best roasters that were up there of the night because, just really no point in trying to cut those things out. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone next. right, wrapping up this 11 o'clock hour. We'll hear from some of the Kansas City Chief rookies out at rookie minicamp. Wrapping that up today. They'll get into OTAs starting next Tuesday. Is it next Monday? Regardless, next week for the next 3 or 4 weeks, they'll have the OTAs, and then in June, the mandatory minicamp that'll take place. So OTAs getting underway, starting over the next, or next week and the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll hear from some of the rookies there at the minicamp. Jack, appreciate you, brother. Safe travels to Wichita.
Yep, I'll be back on Wednesday.
There you go.
More fun.
Segway? You take a Segway there?
Yeah,
how do you get there?
Jet?
Nate Bucati's scooter that he had.
He
left it in the studio.
yes,
So I'm
yes.
just rolling that thing now.
It's
Yeah.
fixed. His foot, isn't
I
it?
fixed it. I fixed the scooter.
Good for you. Have we found out about Mick Schaefer? We'll find out together. All together, we'll find out at 1 o'clock.
I think he comes in wearing swim trunks.
You know, that's typically on a Friday, though, because he's got Fridays off.
Ah.
So he'll come in, especially during the summertime. It'll be like a tank top and some swim trunks and some flip-flops.
Backward hat is a guarantee.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, I think he'll show up in like a regular attire. We'll see. Like a KSHB, like a vest on or something like that. I think that's what he'll be wearing. We'll see. 913-912-4810. We talked a lot of Royals in the first couple of hours with them dropping the game yesterday to the Texas Rangers, having a 2-0 lead, heading into the 8th inning, ending up losing in extras. And the frustrating aspect of that, what it means for Daniel Lynch moving forward, what it means for the organization with what Daniel Lynch was able to do in terms of depth that may be there in the minor leagues. Not necessarily, hey, you got yourself another starter the rest of the year, but you found somebody at least that can give you a spot start. He was the second in line, make no mistake. He was the second choice because Jonathan Bolin was the first. He did not succeed. They went with Daniel Lynch. He did succeed, so at least you know there is somebody that potentially gives you that opportunity to go out there. And Daniel Lynch, throughout his career, has been a guy that has been just a roller coaster. It's 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 innings, 4 earned runs. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 4 innings, 6 earned runs. And if he has to fill in for maybe not an extended period of time, but, as I said, like over 3 starts, and he gives you a start like that yesterday, and then he gives you a start where he just gets shelled, and then he gives you a start where it's like 5 innings, 3 runs. Okay. 2 of the 3, you've got a chance to win. 1 of them, you're sort of toast, and maybe you've got an amazing offensive output that day. That's what you would certainly hope for if you're the 7th guy in the rotation, which is what he is. And he might have been the 8th because we don't know about Jordan Lyles. Maybe Jordan Lyles was the 6th guy and would have been starting for Alec Marsh these last 2 times. But we know it was Bolin and now Daniel Lynch. We talked about that. We talked about what it meant that the Royals from Ken Rosenthal were interested in trading for Luis Arraez. That Arraez from the Miami Marlins gets traded to the Padres for their 6th, 9th, and 13th rated prospect in their organization, according to MLB Pipeline. Number 6, number 9, number 13 from the Padres, including their number 6 prospect was the 2023 first-round draft pick for them, number 25 overall that they traded for Luis Arraez, who has next year team control because it's his last year of arbitration eligibility is next year for Luis Arraez. So you are going to have to pay him an increase from the $10.6 million that he's making this year. The Royals were at least interested in that. It got to a preliminary reaching out. Maybe it was just simply kicking the tires. Maybe it was just, let's at least see what they have, what they want. And then it didn't advance further than that, which probably they found out what the Marlins were looking for. Yeah. Too rich for our blood. We're moving on. We're not investing. We're not taking away from the farm system that would cost higher level prospects. So again, what did you say the Marlins farm system was ranked?
The Padres were 4th.
Thank you, Padres.
Yeah,
that's
Padres
right.
were 4th. The Royals are 28th, and the Royals only have 1 current player in the top 100. Want to take a little guess?
Yeah, it's Blake
Mitchell.
Blake Mitchell. Not Walters. Blake Mitchell, the catcher.
The catcher.
Mm-hmm.
So the Royals don't have a lot to give up. They got to give up a lot higher prospects than 6, 9, and 13 in their system, and then they have to look back and say, well, what do we have? The cupboard's pretty bare. We got some flour with some ants in it, and then we got some, and there's not much good. We got some expired condensed milk. What are we making here?
Does that ever expire?
I actually don't know. I maybe had named the one thing that is not. That's why it's so impressive.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's so impressive, yeah. So the Padres, they could give that, but when you hear preliminary, right, it could have just been what was the asking price, because that is a lot for the Padres to give up. Like, I like Luis Arraez a lot. Very good hitter. He's going to get you about 350. He gets on base at a decent clip because he doesn't take a lot of walks because he's always just slapping the ball. It's almost like Ichiro, where it's like he's on base and the batting average is also very close because he ain't walking. Yeah. He's not striking out, but he ain't walking.
He's going to put the bat on the ball.
But that's basically, what, a year and a half of Arias before the contract really starts getting maybe a little steeper. He doesn't play any defense. He's atrocious defensively. He plays first base and second base. The Royals have a plethora of defenders there.
Yeah.
So they need your DH. Mm-hmm. Do you give up if you're the Royals, your fourth, eighth, and 10th best prospect in your pipeline to try and bring in a DH?
For a year
and a half.
Yeah, what do they got? 40. So a year and 120 games.
But I like them at least going and trying to call. Again, it doesn't hurt going and trying to call, because what if you get them for just a couple utility prospects? Because Miami is trying to rebuild. Who knows? This is a step in the right direction, because I don't think the previous regime would have gone after a guy who doesn't play any defense, right? Doesn't walk. This does not seem like a traditional guy the Royals would have gone after, so I like this for J.J. Piccolo.
And they are clearly looking for solutions offensively. They are trying to find somebody that can help them offensively, because they're not getting that from Renfroe. They're not getting that from Velasquez. They're not getting that from a number of spots. Those are the two that are standouts of how bad they've been versus what they were hoping to get from them. And if you brought in a Luis Ariz, you could then elongate your lineup by moving Michael Garcia to a different spot, because there's your leadoff hitter. On base, in front of Bobby, in front of Vinny, in front of Salvi, and then maybe after Salvi, you go with Garcia and then Michael Massey. And now you feel like, okay, now you got 6 guys there. And only the bottom third of the lineup is the real rough patch. Unfortunately, that bottom third would include your entire outfield. I mean, your left fielder, right fielder, and center field, and maybe in that order in the 7, 8, 9 spot. But it would be a cost acquisition if they have the 4th best farm system, the Padres, and the Royals are ranked at the 28th, and it took the number 6 and number 9 prospects and number 13. So are you willing to give up, Ben Kudrna, Blake Walters, and, Carter Jensen or something like that for a year and 120 games of Luis Ariz?
Yeah.
And then not being able to afford him when he becomes a free agent after that. And that's a discussion that I get that some people might look at and go, yeah, I would do that. If the Royals were leading if the Guardians and the Twins didn't have this hot of a start, and the Royals were leading the division by like 4 or 5 games, then I might look at it and go, all right, well, you've got a real chance here in how you've played through this stretch of baseball against the toughest competition in terms of a 40-game stretch of mixing in top-level teams. If you did that in those 40 games, and now you're a quarter of the way through, yeah, your schedule should lighten up a little bit at certain times. You still got a lot of games left against the White Sox. So you got some games against some of those teams if that was the case, but they're tied with the Twins, and they're 2.5 games back of the Guardians. The Tigers are right there. And I think it's still, a long shot for them to win the division. Luis Ariz would help, but when you win the division, are you good enough then in the playoffs? The Diamondbacks found a way to get there with a superstar and a lot of role players and an ace at the top of their, staff, and a power hitter. So you got a superstar, a power hitter, role players, an ace at the top, and a good bullpen. Sounds a lot like the Royals. They were able to make it through and go to the World Series. Anything is possible, Kevin Garnett, but I don't think this team is there yet. So I'm not willing to give up some pieces that you may be able to use next year.
Sure.
If you're really that much closer, you go out and do some different things.
I'm looking at some teams that are bad, right? Obviously, the White Sox with the Royals connection with Chris Getz and just the plethora of former Royals that are there. But you're looking right now, I'm looking at the Rockies, right? They're atrocious. They've been known to deal some players. They're trying to get younger. Ryan McMahon is the only guy I'm looking on the roster that I think that makes sense on the Royals. They're not trading some of their young guys like Nolan Jones or Tovar. Charlie Blackmon, he's beyond
old.
washed.
Yeah,
Chris
old.
Bryant has been nothing since he left the Cubs. But Ryan McMahon's the only guy I'm looking at that seems like would make sense for the Royals. He plays third base, second base. He can play DH. The issue is he's got 4 years left on a $70 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
It's about $12 or $13 million a year. Now, he's also, if you want to say the face of the Rockies, which I don't know how many people listening right now knew that Ryan McMahon is the face of the Colorado Rockies, but he's been probably their best player, right? Mm-hmm. But with that contract, if the Royals are willing to take on a lot of that money, I bet the Rockies are sitting here going, you know what? We're not going anywhere at any time with Ryan here as long as he's under contract. We can shed some money, right? They've done that before with a lot of players. So I wonder if the Royals could try to inquire about a guy like Ryan. Again, this is their David DeJesus. I think that's probably
DeJesus. Thank you. Go ahead.
I wanted to hear you say that. So that's why I kind of went with that one. But like,
Ding,
again, they don't have a Salvi. They don't have one of those guys, right? But this is their face.
My concern with McMahon is, one, he plays in Colorado. That's always a concern. There's a steep regression, I think, this year coming in a guy that's a career 240 hitter that's batting 310 right now through 40 games of the season almost.
But he always gets on base.
He does. He's a guy that gets on base, just not at a 400 clip.
Agreed.
Which is what he's getting on base right now. So there is going to be the back of a baseball card when he's 30 years old. I guess this is his 29-year-old season. So
yes.
When he's 29 years old and he's been in the league for 8 years now, the back of the baseball card tells you what ultimately he's going to be. So at the end of the year, he's going to be batting around 240, 245. And right now batting like 310 or something like that the other day is last I saw.
But his OPS has always been about, and again, a lot of that is Colorado. So I will firmly admit that, yes, a lot is Colorado. But he's been a league average bat even when that's taken into consideration. As far as you take Colorado out and just go to a normal ballpark, he is a average at bat. He gets on base at a 330 clip. That's something the Royals need right now. I'm looking for guys who get on base, who can take a walk. Yeah, he strikes out an absurd amount, right? A lot. But he gets on base a lot, and that's what the Royals need at this point. They have 4 guys. Right now, the Royals have 4 players who are getting on base at a 300-plus clip. Mm-hmm. One of them is Michael Massey.
The question would be, would the Royals be willing to invest $50 million in Ryan McMahon for the rest of this year and then his 30, 31, and 32-year-old season before moving on from him? Because that's what's left on his contract this year and then the next 3.
And with the Rockies, eat some, as they did with Nolan Arenado. I think they did with going back, I think, Tulowitzki.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockies are not afraid to make these moves.
Yeah. Let's hear from a couple of the rookies out at Chiefs rookie minicamp. Xavier Worthy, a lot of talk around Xavier Worthy, obviously, over the last week and a half, whatever it's been. Has it only been like 9 days, 10 days since he was drafted? I guess so, man. It was last weekend, because last week was the first time we were talking about it. It feels like it's been 2 weeks of talking about the Chiefs draft, regardless. So 11 days ago, it was Thursday. Today's Monday. When they drafted Xavier Worthy. A lot of talk about that. There's video clips of Xavier Worthy struggling to catch a punt. The wind was brutal. Punt god is left-footed, so you got a little bit of that Colquitt thing going on. Boy, that would be terrible if Xavier Worthy can't catch a punt. Maybe don't put him in punt return, but whatever. Maybe just have nobody back there regardless. There was also a video of him dropping a pass, and he's in midseason form now. Look at that, Xavier Worthy. Yeah, there you go. He dropped a pass. Here he is after the first day of rookie minicamp and talking with the assembled media, Xavier Worthy.
Xavier, what's just the past week been like for you?
It's been fun, learning the new offense and seeing how they run stuff and just getting the flow of things.
What stands out about what you've seen in the playbook so far?
It reminds me of a lot of Sark's playbook, so a lot of similarities, just a lot of different names to it, so it's going to be fun to just play in this offense.
Before we get into X's and O's, I've got to ask, because you've got a couple of viral just pictures or whatever floating around the internet, but you're coming from Texas, now you're in Kansas City. Your thoughts and your honest thoughts on the Chiefs locker room compared to Texas?
I knew that question was going to come. I ain't gonna lie, that picture was kind of just misinterpreted. I wasn't looking at the locker room, no way. I don't really care about the locker room. I'm just here to play ball.
It's one of the things that, now that you're a professional football player, there's the NFLPA does these polls and stuff like that. They've talked about the facilities here, maybe not up to, but when it's a real recruiting tool when you're in college, right?
I feel like the only reason why college facilities is like that is to get players to be like, oh, wow, this is what it's like, but it's really not. That's still the same thing as NFL, but it's just more like toys in college versus NFL.
Yeah. You moved to a lot of positions in Texas and played every spot pretty much. Here, you'll probably do the same thing, but a lot of the Z spot. What makes you, to you, like a good Z receiver? How do your skills really fit that spot?
To answer that, I really feel like I can't just answer like just a true Z receiver. I feel like I played every position at Texas. I really played mostly X at Texas. So just being able to have that versatility and play everything, I feel like it just doesn't limit me to any position.
When they drafted you, what were the expectations that they said that they wanted from you or expected of you, and then what are your expectations of yourself coming into this upcoming season?
The expectations of me was coming in willing to work, and I feel like whatever they need me to do and whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do it just to get on the field.
But what's your expectation for yourself?
Oh, I always to play and be the best me. That's my expectation.
Xavier, you told us on draft night you had yet to talk to Patrick. Have you had a chance to talk to him between the draft night and obviously today?
Yeah, I talked to him, connected with him a little bit. He was excited about me coming into the camp, just learning the offense and getting a little feel, getting my feet wet on the offense.
And I know you were obviously thrilled to be paired up with Andy, given you have a lot of trust that he's going to use you the right way. But what does it say that, Pat was scouting you along with the rest of the Chiefs before obviously getting the phone call?
It's amazing just to be able to have that quarterback that wants you. So that means they're obviously going to try to find ways to get you the ball, make you a part of the offense. So that's just a huge part of it.
You scouted them too, didn't you, a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Shoot, anywhere with a quarterback, I feel like that was like my main spot. Pat just obviously was like, I feel like everybody would want to play for Pat, just how amazing quarterback he is and how personable he is.
Any other players you caught up with? Any other Chiefs players you caught up with? Just the expectations and going through everything that's involved with being a Kansas Chief?
I really haven't connected with a lot of them like that. Pat was probably like the main one. Trav reached out to me and congratulated me and things.
Along with, working with Patrick and Andy, it seems that you and Hollywood Brown have a lot of similarities too. Have you studied his game at all?
I watched a little bit of Hollywood, but I kind of watched like guys like kind of older, like D-Jack and, a little bit of Tavon Austin in college. So just little people like that.
What do you take away from Deshaun Jackson? Because Andy said that was kind of the comp for you.
Yeah, just his punt return and his ability to make a play after the catch and how he understood the leverage for deep routes. So I feel like he had really good leverage. I think he has a record for longest touchdown. So just his ability to understand leverage on deep routes.
Xavier, a lot of people have talked about your weight, not super heavy, whatever. What do you weigh in at here? What do you want to weigh when you play in the National Football League? Has it ever been an issue for you? You ever think you're too small when you've been out there playing in college, taking big hits or anything?
I weighed in at 169, but I don't think I took big hits. I delivered them. But no, I feel like it's not going to be a problem. I feel like just understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, I feel like that's the big thing in the league. Don't obviously try to go hit a 215-pound linebacker. So just understanding your weight, understanding your strengths, like I said, and D-Jack was obviously, he came in the league 169 and understood his strengths. So just using your strengths to your strength.
Brett Beach mentioned to us on the draft night, maybe they'll get some nutritionist or whatever, maybe try to get a little bit of weight on you. Have they told you maybe what they want you to play at, or are you comfortable here?
Nah, I feel like I know I'm going to play at like around 175, 170 range, so I'll be fine.
Understanding you're just getting started here, is there something you want to accomplish in this camp this weekend?
Just establishing the playbook, getting a firm understanding on the playbook, and just so I know where to line up come training camp. I'm already affiliated, know what I'm doing, know where I'm lining up, and know what plays from there.
Is there anything special you brought from home that makes Kansas City feel like home to you now?
Shoot. My feet and my heart.
Have you had a chance to get acclimated in Kansas City? Try some of the local barbecue spots yet?
I tried Q39. It was fire. It was fire.
Brad, I have to take your gigs, I'm sure.
You wore number 1 for a long time. What's the significance of that number to you?
So in high school, I wore number 1 my junior year, and that was like kind of like when I started popping out onto the scene. So number 1 kind of just been my number after that. So I just wanted to take it with me everywhere I went.
I know you got the sleeves on. Look like you got a new tattoo.
Yeah.
Can you share that with us and what went into wanting to get that so quickly?
So shoot, I got a lot of tattoos. I got a full sleeve, and I left that spot open. So wherever I got NFL right on top of it. So wherever I got drafted, it's just my tribute to where I got drafted. My love. They gave me a chance. So wherever I got drafted, whoever gave me a chance, I'm tatted right there. First round, 20th.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, there's Xavier Worthy, and reading the Chiefs' observations from camp from Matt Derrick at ChiefsDigest.com. It was a day to forget for Xavier Worthy on Saturday. We talked about what that feeling must have been like putting on that helmet for the first time and going out to the field and practicing, and what was essentially a Wednesday practice for the Chiefs. They did that on Saturday with the rookie minicamp, trying to take them through what a typical Wednesday practice would be. And Xavier Worthy had a day to forget on Saturday with the drop pass, with the punts that were a struggle, and then being held out of the final 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills, whether that be injury, tweaking something, or just, hey, man, just take a break. You know, maybe you're trying to do too much, whatever it is, just go chill. That, according to Matt Derrick yesterday, was a great day for Xavier Worthy. That, he had a couple of big catches across the middle and, the starters versus the starters in 7-on-7, 11-on-11. And, in fact, one of them that Matt Derrick described of Oladokin underthrew him. And Xavier Worthy, with a defender on him, had to track the ball, slow down, make the catch, and then ends up, getting, quote, tackled because the ball, he had to wait for it. So Oladokin underthrew him there. But tracking it with somebody right on you and making the catch, whether it's pads or not, that's another piece of evidence from the eyes of Matt Derrick and writing it and reading it for us. It's another piece of evidence of it is one of his strengths is tracking the football and underthrown, still being able to go and get that while keeping the defender on your back. And then another one with a deep post route that Matt Derrick described that Oladokin threaded through a couple of defenders, and Worthy had to make the catch while it's going through different windows, a deep post, and then still makes the catch with a helmet and jersey on.
I'm glad he didn't play with a great quarterback at Texas, because this means he's now good at coming back with the ball. Now he knows how to come back and do it adjust.
Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, now you won't have to worry about that as much.
Mahomes is another guy that he can't overthrow.
But I thought some of the comments were interesting when he was asked about, Hollywood Brown. He goes, well, I'm more of the older guy like Deshaun Jackson, who I think we've all been compared, not Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, right.
It's been Deshaun Jackson, and then I loved Tavon Austin in college.
Yeah.
He's been looking at the college tape of Tavon Austin, not the NFL one, but the college one.
There ain't much in the NFL tape, but yeah.
He did also point out he's, 169 right now?
Yeah,
his weight's 169.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of generics of, what do you bring? I bring heart. I bring me. But I did think that was interesting right there. The 169, so at least know what his weight is at right now.
Yeah.
We'll see if that bumps up a little bit, but again, I think Deshaun Jackson is the comp. He said he played a lot of X at Texas, right?
I like the question about was it Matt Derrick or was it Todd Lebo that asked about the Z and being that guy, and him saying, well, I don't want to just look at myself as like the Z. I'm an X. I'm I played a lot of X at. I think he's gonna be the Z for the Chiefs. I mean,
correct. Yes,
the Z is the guy that you see going in motion all the time and moving around, and so I think that's going to be Xavier Worthy, because if the X is just simply on the line of scrimmage on the outside, now he's got to deal with press coverage.
Correct.
In the NFL, and I don't think the Chiefs want to have that happen early in his career.
Which, as we talked about with Matt Harmon from Reception Perception last week, we talked he's not great at press man coverage to the line of scrimmage. He was at 20-something percentile. It wasn't Devontae Smith. It wasn't one of those elite guys even who can be slender. I think you're right. He's going to be more of a Z, but it is nice to know that he has lined up at the X. He has been in the slot. He has been all over the field at Texas. Again,
Yep.
It's the Big 12 school.
It's the Big 12. It's Division I football. It's not intramurals. Go play intramurals, brother. Anyway, go ahead.
I actually don't know that reference.
Dan Hawkins at Colorado. He said he had some players that were complaining about, that they had to stay on campus or whatever. They couldn't leave home, couldn't go home for like a holidays or something. And he's like, it's the Big 12. It's Division I football. It's not intramurals. Go play intramurals, brother. But anyway, go ahead. You were talking about the Big 12.
Big 12!
It's Division I football.
Well, that's my main point. It is the Big 12. It's Division I. It's Division I football. We're not talking about a small school, and he had all this success there. Again, day by day, I've become more excited about Xavier Worthy, maybe because I'm talking myself into it. I'll fully admit that because I want to see fewer drops, but I'm starting to see more and more reasons to be enthusiastic about his success.
Yep. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue to hear some of the clips from the roast. And I want to hear from Jared Wiley. Kingsley Suamataia is going to turn out to be somebody that's fun to listen to. And pretty cool to see the reports from the rookie minicamp, I think it was from yesterday, Harold Kuntz tweeted out the video of Jaden Hicks a couple of different times, Spags calling him over and like individually going through different things with Jaden Hicks. Like, I think Spags is pretty pumped that he's got Jaden Hicks a toy to play with there on the defense.
I think Seth Kaiser said the most Spagsy player who has ever spagged.
Spagsiest Spags player that has ever Spags. That's right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone right after this. All right, hanging out here on this Monday edition of the show. Before we play Jared Wiley from the weekend of sound out at Rookie Minicamp, and Andy Reid will talk today at some point. You'll either hear that in the zone in the 1 o'clock hour or during the program with Seren Petro, depending on when he gets to the podium. But he will talk at some point today in the conclusion. The last day of the Rookie Minicamp is today. They wrap things up, but we'll hear from Jared Wiley here in just a little bit. But we've been playing different clips throughout the show of the roast of Tom Brady on Netflix last night and how incredibly funny it was. And we've played a few clips that are radio appropriate, that are funny and also radio appropriate. We've played a few clips from Kevin Hart and Jeff Ross and Drew Bledsoe. Nikki Glazer was widely regarded as one of the top 3, some would argue best, roasters last night. Her timing is brilliant. Her jokes, all of that stuff, she is really good as a comic in general, but as a roaster as well, and the KU graduate. Let's hear, there's about a 2-minute clip of some of the different jokes and roasts that Nikki Glazer had last night at the expense of many people, including Tom Brady.
You really got to hand it to Kevin Hart because he can't reach. Now, I love your movies, or as I call them, short films. No, I'm kidding. I hate them. No. Rob Gronkowski is not all here. Hey, Rob. No, Rob, you're not really as dumb as you look and sound and act and are. You might be dumber. Is it true you were the first person born with CTE? Is that real? But let's get to the reason we're all here tonight. Drew Bledsoe. Drew bled so Tom could run. But Drew, I'm going to move on from you just like your team did after you almost died. Tom Brady, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, most career wins, most career touchdowns. You have 7 rings. Well, 8 now that Giselle gave hers back, but... Sorry, Tom. Tom,
it's okay.
The only thing dumber than you saying yes to this roast was when you said, hey, babe, you should try jujitsu. I think that was...
God.
That's gotta suck. Dude. Tom also lost $30 million in crypto. Tom, how did you fall for that? I mean, even Gronk was like, me know that not real money. Like...
Me know that not real money. I think Gronk was like, I told him, I did.
You know. Gronk actually does Bitcoin, which is where he just chews on a handful of nickels. But I gotta go, but I have one more thing to say, and I promise to keep it Kevin Hart. To be honest, Tom, I didn't really know a ton about your career before this, and I only really started watching football when Taylor Swift said it was okay.
So there you go. There's Nikki Glazer. There was a couple more jokes after that if you want to hear them, go check it out on Netflix. We're not going to play them right here.
There were a couple that I was really glad. I was nervous first. I'm like, Jason, cut that.
No, I'm not going to. Like I said, the ones that are
after the jiu-jitsu one,
radio appropriate.
The jiu-jitsu one that led into something,
which was the best joke of the night.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
In my opinion. Let's hear from Jared Wiley. Firth. He was the fourth round draft pick. Since Kith and Kin and the Gridwall family Christmas. Here's
Is this Mike Tyson?
No, that was Clark W. Griswold Jr. Here is Jared Wiley talking about the first day of rookie minicamp and hearing from the 4th round tight end, a guy that I'm pretty pumped about what he can do for this offense. Here's that conversation.
Jay, what were the expectations that the Chiefs coaching staff gave you when you were drafted, and what are the expectations that you have for yourself going into the season?
Yeah, as far as the coaches, just get in here and learn the offense as fast as possible, and be a key contributor on the team, however that looks, whether it's special teams, offense, whatever they ask me to do, I'll do it. My expectations of myself are basically that I want to come in here, I want to get comfortable, and I want to learn the brand and style of football that they play here in Kansas City, and I want to be able to do that to the best of my ability.
Have you had a chance to talk with Travis and try to see when you all can link up and try to, steal some knowledge from him?
Yeah. I'm planning on, being able to see him soon. Right now is just, get in and, like I said earlier, just learn the offense as much as possible, get as comfortable as possible right now before I, have to worry about a whole bunch of other stuff down the road.
Jared, you moved from quarterback to tight end, and obviously there's a lot of guys that have done that, but can you explain what that process was like for you going through it the first time, and what do you love most about playing the tight end position?
First off, that transition it was a little bit tougher because I played quarterback in high school, so I never really experienced college football, and then they were like, "Hey, you're gonna go play tight end," so that was a little bit different. A lot of run blocking drills. A lot of practicing went into it. My favorite thing about tight end is just I feel like it's, aside from the quarterback, I feel like it's the most essential part of your offense. We're asked to do everything, whether it's in the pass game or in the run game and pass protection. So I kind of like having that, I guess having that kind of pressure or weight on my shoulders a little bit. And I like, just being able to prove to myself and to everybody else that, I'm completely capable of doing that.
You had another transition going from Texas to TCU. Tell us what that was about, because your production certainly increased at TCU.
Yeah. Just opportunity, honestly. There was a lot of changes going on at Texas whenever I was there. 3 different offensive coordinators, 3 different position coaches, 2 head coaches. Like it was something different every year. So, I kind of wanted to, I guess, just get a fresh start and go find some stability somewhere. And I happened to find it at TCU.
Do you feel like having that quarterback background helps you understand the passing game better than you otherwise might have?
Yeah, I would say it's helped a lot just learning the playbook. Just studying, especially in this offense, everybody's expected to know every position. Just being able to learn that and kind of figure out the concepts and everything like that, I would say that it's helped quite a bit.
You mentioned you've had several different coordinators and head coaches in a couple of different schools. Do you think that will help you in the transition to be able to adapt and learn whatever?
Oh yeah. I've had to learn 5 different offenses while I was in college, so this is my 6th one in 6 years. So it's part of my normal routine now, I guess. So I don't think I'll have much trouble with it.
So how did it actually work when you physically get the playbook? Was that like yesterday when you guys got here, or did you get one before? And what's your study habits and your study patterns to learn this one?
Yeah, I got to talk to some of the coaches a little bit yesterday about it. But as far as my study habits and stuff go, just draw whatever the play is. Normally teams will give you like drawings or whatever. You draw those on your own sheet of paper. And then if I can, I try to get a script or whatever for practice, and then I go in and write whatever I have on it. And then stuff like walkthroughs and everything like that, that helps a ton too.
Jared, have you already had a conversation with Pat?
Yeah, very briefly, he just told me congrats on getting drafted. That's really all that it's been so far.
Was that over just the weekend that you did get drafted, or just in this ensuing week here?
No, yeah, he called me after the draft, probably like 20 minutes after I got drafted. Just told me congrats and everything like that.
Then what's just the last week been like for you? Is this like the realization of what you've long wanted to do? Like, what's it been like this first week of being a professional?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. I've worked. Everybody in this building that plays has worked their whole lives to be where they're at. So, just getting a chance to do that at a place like Kansas City, I'm super blessed.
Exactly. What's it like when, you dream to do this and it's real? You get picked and they call you and say you got picked, but how much more real is it when Patrick Holmes is on the phone with you talking about it?
Yeah, it definitely hits a little bit more whenever something like that happens. But, I mean, I would say just being here, that's probably the most real that it's been. Since I got drafted to now, it's just been like, oh yeah, I'm going to Kansas City, like I'm going to be a Chief. And then now I'm here and I'm like, okay, like I'm really in here, I'm really doing this. So I would say that it hit probably yesterday.
Yeah, Hunter mentioned the bus ride in, you see the stadium and kind of gets reeled in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you see the huge stadium with all the seats and everything, and I've never seen it, so in my opinion, it's the coolest looking stadium if you're looking outside in. So I mean, just doing that, you're kind of starstruck for a minute, and then you have to realize, like you're here for a reason. So then it's you kind of shift your mindset into, all right, now it's time to kind of get back to work.
We always ask guys, have you ever been to an NFL game as a fan?
No.
Not everyone had. You never been to one?
Actually, I have. It was a long time ago, and I remember nothing about it.
Do you remember where it was?
Yeah, we watched it. I do remember we watched the Texans play the Broncos in a preseason, because I remember I was excited to see those. Peyton Manning was there and J.J. Watt, and neither one of them played because it was preseason. So I was like, whatever, it's fine.
We go to a regular season game.
Exactly.
Jeremy, when you think about it, again, rookie coming in, talking about it's kind of hit you when you walk to the stadium. But you haven't had a chance to experience Chiefs Kingdom yet, the fandom, and of course you'll get that preseason and the regular season when the season starts. How excited are you about that?
Oh, I'm super excited. From what I've heard, like I said, I've never been to a Chiefs game, but from what I've heard, Chiefs Kingdom is second to none. And I'm super excited just to be able to run out of the tunnel at Arrowhead that first game and just kind of feel that energy that they bring to every game.
We've got time for a few more. PJ, you're up.
So you talked to Pat. Have you talked to Travis, and how much have you studied him and tried to model your game after his?
I've been studying him for like 3 or 4 years. So just being able to, be in the same position room as him now, like I said, it's just kind of like a starstruck feeling. I've watched him play, like I said, for a lot of years and try to model my game after him in some areas that I can. But just being able to absorb information from him and learn from him and see his habits and kind of just be a fly on the wall for basically what he does day in and day out. I'm super excited about that.
Go Matt and then Nate. Go ahead, Matt.
I think you wore 18 and 19 in college.
Yeah.
What kind of led you to number 12 here?
Yeah, I wore 12 in high school, so it kind of was it felt like a full circle moment for me, just kind of where everything started, and then now it's definitely not ending right now, but I've kind of achieved the goal that I ultimately have for myself, and like I said, everything's just now getting started as far as this aspect, but definitely whenever I saw 12 was available, I have kind of like a close connection with that number.
Even in high school, did you choose 12 or did they just hand you 12?
No, I chose 12.
Well, was there a reason why you chose in the first place?
Honestly, no, not really. I don't know if I don't think I ever wore it before. I was just like, it looks cool. And then being here, yeah, exactly. I was like, whatever, Tom Brady, whatever. But yeah, I mean, as far as like choosing it here, it felt like a special number to have, so I went ahead and grabbed it.
Nate?
Jared, two good questions. Did you play other sports growing up? And then secondly, how much of being a quarterback sort of forced you to become such a good receiver, someone who actually catches the ball at a very good rate?
Yeah. As far as sports, I played soccer growing up whenever I was little. And then I started playing football for a week and quit soccer because I was like, football's way better. And then
middle school?
Yeah, middle school. And then I played baseball too. I'd always played baseball my whole life. I loved it. But then I was just like, if I want a chance to do anything, I'd love to play football. As far as a receiver, quarterback thing, I used to hate whenever my receivers dropped the ball. So I know that quarterbacks hate that. So, I've definitely done a lot of work with myself, just being comfortable with the ball in the air, and being able to adjust my body certain ways to make those catches to help the quarterback out as much as possible.
I'm pumped for Jared Wiley. I think he's really going to be a benefit to this offense. Hollywood Brown coming in, Xavier Worthy coming in. But we talked briefly, Sterling, on Friday when we were at Trailside RV about the Chiefs' limited use of 12 and 13 personnel from 2022 to 2023. They won the Super Bowl both years, so, different ways of going about it. But the percentage dropped that they used in 12 personnel from 22 to 23 and 13 personnel, both of them. And the efficiency dropped. The expected points added were down a lot from that. I mean, in 2022, their 13 personnel EPA was 0.37. Last year it was negative 0.08.
Yikes.
Until the playoffs. And I wonder if there was an element of they get into the playoffs. Now, it was colder, so maybe that's what dictated more of the 13 personnel, because the two highest games of usage of 13 personnel were the Bills and the Dolphins this year for Andy Reid. This year, Bills and Dolphins this year in the playoffs. Now, they were extremely cold games, so maybe that was part of it, or maybe that's why the offense was a little bit more efficient, because shockingly, in 13 personnel against Buffalo, the Chiefs averaged 0.38 expected points added, which was 0.37 in 2022. So they went back to having that sort of efficiency, and that's where I'm excited about Jared Wiley, is if you have 2 and 3 tight ends out there, guys that can block and go and catch, and you throw some speed with Rashee Rice and not Rashee Rice and Justin Watson. Now it's, if you're in 12 personnel, Rashee Rice and Hollywood, or Hollywood and Xavier Worthy with Kelsey and Wiley, or Kelsey and Noah Gray out there in 12 personnel. That's what gets me pumped about what this offense can look like.
And the fact that Jared Wiley was a former quarterback and says he understands how much drops suck.
That's right. Yeah, he's experienced it, right?
He's like, yeah, so I try to make sure I don't do that. Yeah.
So don't drop the ball, all right? We'll be doing that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, wrap up this hour. Coming up next. Yeah, we got some Learn Funny This Best coming your way. Also got a few more clips from the roast of Tom Brady. I want to hear from Kingsley Suamataia. Maybe the starting left tackle.
He was at the roast?
It was an odd choice.
It was. Was he Donovan Smith's +1 probably just
He
getting the
was.
tackle?
He was Donovan Smith.
That was the weird thing. He took a shot at the Chiefs and
why did he
Donovan
do
Smith right there.
Why did Kingsley Suamataia show up at the roast and go up on stage? Nobody knew who he was.
I'm saying Tom's shot at the Chiefs with Donovan Smith in attendance was a little underappreciated.
That's right. Panning to Donovan Smith having the scowl, I thought, you got to take that joke a little bit better. You remember that part, Sterling?
I thought it was a fine joke.
GuaranteedFoods.com.
I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Royals in action tonight at 6:40 against the Milwaukee Brewers. Cole Reagan's on the mound. 20-15. Kansas City Royals 2.5 games out with a 3-game set against the Brewers after dropping the rubber match against the Rangers yesterday, unfortunately. And then tonight, game 1 of Pacers and Knicks. Boy, going back to a 90s classic, baby. It's Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing. Where's John Starks?
John Starks is.
Is Rick Smits out there?
One of us, at least one of us, I don't know
what
your walls look like. One of us has a framed, signed John Starks jersey.
Why?
Inside his house.
Why?
Because one of the 4 schools he went to, and I believe the last one, was Oklahoma State. That's why.
Corey was a John Starks fan, too, for some reason. He's like,
Love
one of
that
my
guy.
favorite
Love that.
all-time NBA players was John Starks.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, that is so random. Then you find out that that he went to Oklahoma State.
Well,
yeah.
and then the iconic picture of him dunking over Horace Grant
On Jordan.
and then
It's okay.
and then on
It's
Jordan.
okay. We can.
The angle looked like it was on Jordan.
I get
as
it.
well.
I get
Yes.
it. Jordan.
Yeah.
Jordan. He's
You'll
never
take
done.
that. Yeah.
He's never done anything wrong. He couldn't possibly have been dunked on.
No,
He's never done
I
anything
saw him.
wrong.
He dunked on Jordan. I'll get the picture of the poster.
Darn right.
My
Yes,
room.
he did.
The one next to Nicole Eggert. That poster too.
Right. I loved those Pacers Knicks series back in the day in the 90s. Man, those were. I love the Pacers
It was
back
a
in the
street fight.
Yeah.
They were just.
I was
love the
team
Pacers back.
Pacers.
I was too.
I was team Reggie Miller.
I was team Reggie Miller growing up.
Well, I cheered for the Knicks, so I wasn't. But yeah, it
Why
was
did you
hard.
cheer for that? Was there anybody on the Knicks that you liked?
Well, it was hard to cheer for Patrick Ewing, man. That guy just so robotic and
Yeah.
old and
Right, yeah. And then game 2 of Nuggets and Wolves tonight. We'll see if the Nuggets can bounce back and get a game at home. Or
I always
this
cheered
thing
for the
go-
Wolves growing up in the 80s.
Did you?
Yeah, the two Wolves.
Yeah, I
Big
love
fan of them.
when my dad passed down the love of the Minnesota Timberwolves to me.
Did he?
Michael
From-
Wakande.
Yeah, from
Wakande
his-
was the
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Him
that was
growing
it,
up as a
yes.
child, he loved the
Yes.
Kansas City A's and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Were the teams that he really rooted for. Kansas City Scouts.
So when Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell went there, you guys were just super excited.
Oh my
huh?
goodness, we were so pumped, man.
I was a Vancouver Grizzlies fan for a while.
Oh, Mike Bibby. I have a Mike Bibby Vancouver Grizzlies
about the
jersey.
No, I was no. It's because of Big
Their
Country.
first ever draft pick.
Big Country and
Yeah.
Big. I'm like, hold on, what's the connection? There it is. Big Country from Oklahoma State. Yeah.
You know what I liked was Wally Zerbiak. I was a big Wally Zerbiak kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
You big Miami of Ohio fan? Is that what it is?
No, just
You just like good looking dudes.
just like he is a good looking guy though.
I actually don't know. Is he still like a good looking dude or something?
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
are you
on
kidding
the,
me? You
tournament coverage every year.
Yeah, he's on
the set.
the TNT and TBS. Yeah, he does all of that stuff. Yes, of course. You thought that he would.
That man.
What
is
did you
an
think he was
NSYNC.
going to grow into not being good looking?
No, that
Look
man's
at
an
him.
NSYNC.
Men
Guaranteed.
age. Men age like a fine wine.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows this. Look at Tom Brady. Who was the
Okay, I will.
Who was the roaster last night that said Tom used to always say laser focused to his team. Now he tells that to his plastic surgeon.
There was so
Laser
much
focused.
material to get to.
In fact, let's hear Bill Belichick. Let's do this. We've got 3 more clips to play from last night's roast. We played Kevin Hart, Jeff Ross, Drew Bledsoe, Nikki Glazer. Obviously, the things we can play on the air. This thing was 3 hours long. You can skip through the Ben Affleck part. If you want to. There was nothing that was brought to the table with Ben
I heard
Affleck.
he bombed.
It was awful. It was terrible.
How's that possible? I'm even Kim Kardashian did a decent job.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian was totally fine.
It was worse than those Dunkin' ads.
It was so bad, dude.
I like those Dunkin'
all
ads,
he
too.
did,
Really?
it's like he just sat there and just got fan mad at Bill Belichick for Brady not going to he was like,
Was
and
it
it was
all-
like
hey, do you think he wrote it? Because most of those non-comedians,
it was so
they get them
bad.
written for.
It was so bad that I think he wrote it.
He might have written it.
It was
yeah.
so bad that I think he wrote it. It was terrible. And I didn't really, Anchorman and Will Ferrell coming out didn't do anything for me
It was
either.
okay. It was okay.
It was just all right.
But it was hard. He was never going to go that raunchy and
Yeah.
that blue, and so he followed up so many great
and he was
acts.
staying in character
Yeah.
the whole time and everything. So
From guffaws to
Yeah.
One of those laughs.
Yeah.
So I thought there was, they could have, if you're watching it, you can skip through Ben Affleck and Ron Burgundy if you want to. You're not really missing much. But Bill Belichick, I thought was pretty good. Here's a couple of minutes of Bill Belichick at the dais and roasting the people around him.
A lot of people, kind of connected me with a saying called, do your job, and telling people to do their job. And Gronk, I've been watching you on Fox NFL Sunday, and I'm begging you, please, stop doing your job. Do another job. Do somebody else's job.
Somebody else's job.
Rob lands some endorsement deals for some of his favorite foods. He did Campbell's Soup, Dunkin' Donuts, and don't forget Tide Pods. Danny Amendola here on stage came with us.
Amendola.
Danny joined us in 2014, got us 200 yards that year. And then in 2016, he picked up another 250.
Danny Amendola catching.
Or to put it another way, what Randy would call a decent first half.
He picked up 200 yards for us that year.
We've already talked about the cryptocurrency. I'll stay away from that one. But I see your soccer team, Birmingham City, got knocked down to another tier in the English Football League. So, for those not familiar with English football and the intricacies to their obscure regulation system, just let me say, I'll put it in English for you, they suck. Not so easy running a team, is it, Tom?
All right.
So, little coaching advice, stick to American football. You're really good at that. For all of you out there that think about who's responsible for the Patriots' success during the time when Tom and I were there, was it Brady, was it me, was it Brady, was it me? In reality, the truth of the matter is, it was both of us because of me.
I thought Bill Belichick came off really well last night. The way he took the jokes and laughed along with it and showed a little personality, except for the part where Kevin Hart had Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick come up to this podium and take a shot together, where Bill Belichick wanted nothing to do with that. He was not wanting to participate in any way, shape, or form. And Robert Kraft was being like overly effusive to Bill Belichick, the greatest coach. And Bill Belichick just standing there. Like, he was laughing most of the night. So it's not like he wasn't having a good time. But at that point, it was stone-faced Bill Belichick like,
well, too soon.
Let's go. All right, let's do this.
That would have been like Bledsoe and Brady getting together in like 03.
And Bledsoe going, yeah, no. And Brady going, this is the best mentor ever. Bledsoe was so good to me. He's still the best New England Patriots quarterback. And yeah, whatever, man. All right, cool. Can we just take the shot and get it over with, man? Let's do this.
Bledsoe, I thought, had some good comedic timing there, good delivery. And he was one of the first ones on stage, so that's always nerve-wracking. And you could tell, I think he wrote some of those because about the yellow Jeep and all that. I don't think the script writers are going to know about that. And so I think he had his own little zingers in there.
Yeah, he was good. We played a few clips.
He's got 20 years of coming up with stuff.
we played a few clips from Drew Bledsoe earlier in the show. And I thought he was the best former player / football player that was up there, because a lot of his jokes we could play. So first of all, and they were really good. So Bill Belichick was pretty good. Let's play, while we're at it, let's play Peyton Manning. Peyton was up there.
This part,
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
You know what? Spoiler
it's 3
alert.
hours.
Spoiler alert, okay? But here's a few clips of Peyton Manning.
For those that don't know, Coach is going to be doing some work on Eli and my Monday Night Football show this year. I got to tell you, it's going to be awesome. Eli and I are super excited, and it's going to give Coach Belichick something he hasn't had in a while, the chance to be around quarterbacks that he respects.
So true.
Honestly, it is great to be here with a bunch of people sitting around talking smack about Tom Brady. Or as we call that in the Manning family, Thanksgiving. True story. After spending several Thanksgivings with my parents, my kids now excuse themselves to use the bathroom by saying, I have to go take a Brady. Of course, we all know Tom has 5 more Super Bowl rings than I do. He also has more touchdowns. He also has more touchdowns than I do, more passing yards, more retirements, more fake hair, more TB12 bankruptcies. That is all true, okay? But I remember once that Tom told me, Peyton, numbers don't matter. Sure, it was right before he deleted every number in his phone because NFL investigators were about to kick down his door. But it was still nice of him to say. One thing that Tom and I definitely have in common, though, is our love of the game of golf. And listen, not to brag, we're both pretty good players. My handicap is a 6.4, while Tom's handicap is blowing leads in the Super Bowl to my brother Eli. But look, I want nothing but the best for my friend Tom Brady. And now that we're both in broadcasting, some people think it's a rivalry again, that I want to see Tom fail, that I want to see him embarrass himself and get fired. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's Coach Belichick who wants that. The last time Tom Brady had to wait this long to get on stage, it was the 2000 NFL Draft. He is a 3-time Super Bowl loser. Please welcome Tom Brady.
It was there was another 4 or 5 minutes of Peyton. That there were some other things thrown in there that were pretty good. But those were the school appropriate jokes. It was pretty good by Peyton.
Peyton Manning in that room might have been one of the top 5 funniest, just truly funny people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't going to.
His timing is
He
great.
didn't work blue at all, I'm sure, right? And he can be funny without being.
His timing was
dropping
really
the bombs
good.
and everything. Yeah, he has really good timing. Homespun, just dry wit. Yeah, he's funny.
His handicap is blowing Super Bowl leads to my brother
Eli.
It's so good.
Did you see Eli's tweet today?
No, I didn't.
He said I couldn't sad to miss last night's show, but I didn't want to show up and roast Tom for a 3rd time.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good, man. There were so many things last night.
So many good
that
things.
were really good. I tried to cut down Tom Brady's as much as I could. So like every clip that we played has been right around 2 minutes. But Tom's clip that we have to play is like 4 minutes long.
Is it good?
It's pretty good. And there's a lot that I cut out too. Like, he spent a good 10, 12, 13 minutes up there.
And he had been drinking for at least 3 hours.
And he did start off by saying, I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours drinking tequila, so this might be interesting. And he let a lot of things fly. He let a lot of words fly that we don't play on the radio or say on the radio. He had a lot of those last night to everybody that was roasting him. But he had no problem letting everybody know he was Tom Brady, which is fine. The night was about him. It was great. And he roasted Bills fans and Chiefs fans there, and which I thought was a funny joke.
I'm offended by that then. Everything else I'm fine with.
Yeah.
You roasted Chiefs fans?
Yeah. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do that. Let's just go ahead and play, and then we'll get into some Royals stuff and some Chiefs stuff with Mick Schaefer. Get his thoughts on everything that happened with the Royals this weekend, because you were watching every single play, right?
I had my finger on the pulse of it all.
Cul-de-sac couples retreat.
That was it?
That you guys had?
CCR.
CCR, baby. A little CCR, cul-de-sac couples retreat. This is about 4 minutes long of Tom Brady finally getting his chance up at the podium.
Peyton, thank you so much for coming out to LA to do this. I know sometimes you live in Denver and sometimes you live in Louisiana, but you'll always live in my shadow. I would have done this earlier, but I've just been too busy winning championships. Which explains why Peyton did this roast 8 years ago. Despite everything we've seen here tonight, Gronk was actually useful on the field. Although the bar for Patriot tight ends was pretty low back then. Block, catch, don't murder.
That is a low bar.
But I'm not going to say about Sam J because she looks like that dude who shredded my ACL.
Bernard Pollard?
Bernard Pollard! Bernard Pollard, shout out Bernard Pollard!
I don't care if you're from Boston. Kim Kardashian, thank you so much for being here. I know Kim was terrified to be here tonight. Not because of this, but because her kids are home with their dad. Where's Roger Goodell? I know. Remember Deflategate? The NFL spent $20 million and found that it was more probable than not that I was generally aware that someone may have deflated my footballs. You could have just given me the $20 million and I would just told you I did it. I want to get the NFL too upset. I'm trying to buy a piece of the Raiders. I'm tired of owning just the Colts and the Bills. Buffalo fans call themselves the Bills Mafia. How are you the Mafia? At least the Mafia has a ring you can kiss.
Clean joke. Right to the heart.
Kansas City, you say your stadium is the loudest.
Hey, watch it.
It helps when all your fans are 14-year-old girls.
That's pretty good.
We're all Swifties, baby.
And in honor of Tay-Tay, let's take a look at the Chiefs eras. Terrible for 50 years, good for 5. Shake it off.
Shake it off.
After 2 decades, I finally had to admit that all along it was you. You're the reason for the Patriots dynasty because you, Bill Belichick, you are a true coaching genius. I mean, you had to choose between an aging, injured, overpaid Drew Bledsoe and a young, healthy, minimum wage superstar. I could have got a coach from Foxborough High School to make that decision. Run it again, Belichick.
That's his famous saying.
Run it
He always
again.
says Foxborough High School when he's bringing guys.
I've been out of the game for a minute, so I'm curious. How many Super Bowl rings have you won since I left? Maybe it's not just the guy on the sideline. When I go to the Indy 500, I don't ask the winning driver, hey, who gassed up your car? There have been a lot of jokes tonight, but the truth is, I missed the love of my life. Football.
There you go. Tom Brady responding and firing back at those. There was some pretty good jokes in there.
Jeff Ross, I believe, writes most of that stuff for everybody. He is so good. That's his wheelhouse. He's so good at him.
He's the roasting.
He should have been.
king.
He should have been up there. I mean, it should have been his show. I know. Yeah. I think Tom wanted Kevin Hart to be there, but Jeff Ross is a lot funnier.
Yeah,
that thing.
I had no problem with the Chiefs one. That was funny.
Why would you have a problem?
Funny.
No, everybody got
right. It was funny. The Bills had it worse.
Everybody there had their entire lives torn to pieces with jokes. Yeah, you should be fine with a Chiefs fan
Go
joke.
listen to what he said about the Eagles and Colts. Okay, I cut those out for a reason. They were not a part of the radio appropriate stuff. So
Jeff Ross said once one of the jokes was, "You were a 6th-round draft pick and you turned into the greatest of all time. What a lesson for everybody out there that if you work hard and if you train and stay dedicated and film other teams' practices and deflate footballs and get a lot of the NFL to change their rules because of you, you too then can be the 3rd famous person in a Dunkin' Donuts ad."
USA, USA.
I love Tom Brady. Just start slurring his words too.
Yeah,
he
was
getting real Joe Namath with it, just a struggling.
Well, I mean, it's been 3 hours. I'm sure they were pre-partying a little bit too to get ready for
I
it.
couldn't care less about the team struggling.
I didn't know he was there. Yeah. All right, let's take a time out. We'll hear some clips from Andy Reid, who was not at the roast last night. But we'll hear from Andy Reid, and we'll get some Learn Funniest Best coming up next. coming up today. OTA's going on next week. Here's Andy Reid talking about first round draft pick, getting a first look over these 3 days of practices. Talking about Xavier Worthy.
I thought he did a nice job picking things up and working through. We asked him to do a whole lot of stuff there. He was putting most of the primary spots, so it was good for him to get in there and move around a little bit.
Does he seem to be picking up stuff okay so far?
Yeah, sharp kid. Yeah.
That's kind of part of what this weekend's about, right? Giving these guys more than they maybe can handle and see what they can do.
Yeah, sure. And then you wait for to see how they retain it when they come back, and then things obviously are even a little faster when you get back in here.
Starting next Monday, I believe, of the OTAs, the next session of OTAs. So as he said, now do you retain it? You'll find out when you get back in next week. OTAs, are you retaining what you're learning? But sharp kid. Getting a chance to see him out there play. And apparently yesterday, I haven't seen any of the observations. Matt Derrick probably writing them right now. Observations from day 3. But day 2, apparently a great day for Xavier Worthy after a rough first day on Saturday.
Was it a rough, or we just saw that one little
No,
clip?
I mean, the media is allowed to be out there for the whole practice. Yeah. And Matt it was a tough practice for Xavier Worthy, dropping punts and passes, and then eventually sitting out the last 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills just on the sideline holding his helmet. But then responded yesterday with a great practice, apparently. Catching deep balls, catching post routes from Oladokin, burning some guys. So, which I would hope he would be burning some rookies and undrafted free agents. But regardless, responded with a good practice yesterday. We'll see what today looked like. Kingsley Suamataia, who finished up 3 days of practicing, and he could be the starting left tackle. Could be a starting right tackle. Who knows? Injuries happen all the time. So here's Andy Reid weighing in on what he's seen from his new pet project in BYU Cougar, Kingsley Suamataia.
Yeah, well, listen, I know a lot of his family, and he's a local kid there. So it's a close-knit group up there, just in general with BYU. And so I understand that part. But when you're here, then it's work. He knows that. And there's no favoritism. So you get out, and it's equal opportunity for everybody. And I was proud of him how he worked. He came out and worked hard and did a nice job of learning.
And they put him on both sides of the offensive line. It wasn't like, hey, you're going to be battling for the left tackle spot, so we're only going to play left tackle. There were 11-on-11 drills where he was playing right tackle. So they are trying to get him acclimated quickly and learn the offense. Let's hear Andy Reid weighing in on the rookie O-lineman in the draft and maybe some undrafted guys and what he saw this weekend.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I'll be curious to see when our other guys get in here. I mean, we're not going live, so I've got to see. And there's no run game. We're not doing that against each other, and so you're not going to see that going on. But I liked what I saw from what I saw. It's got to be one of the better offensive line groups, young offensive line groups that we've had in here. It's just collectively.
I love that line. I liked what I saw from what I saw.
From what I saw.
I liked what I saw from I liked what I heard from what I heard. During these 3.5 hours, I thought it's been, from what I've heard, I've liked what I've heard. Let's hear about Reese Zamet. This is Andy Reid weighing in on Reese Lightning and what he brings to the table.
This was good for him, this camp, for that reason, that he got a lot of reps. When the guys are here, he's rotating in with those guys. He didn't get a ton of reps there, but this gave him an opportunity to really jump in and learn. And he's so diligent with everything and wants to be so good at everything. And that's, I've appreciated that. And you can see the progress he's made. You guys saw yesterday with the long run he had on the screen. So he's I thought he was going to dive in the end zone, but other than that, he was good. That's all right. He did good.
Have you ever played rugby, club rugby, when you were younger? Do you know the game at all?
I've watched it. I haven't played it. No.
His speed kind of jumps off the page at you, but are there little things that he needs to work on, whether because the running style looks a little bit different, holding the ball looks a little different? Are those techniques that he just needs to work on?
Yeah, he's done a good job of working on holding the ball. They do hold a little bit different, bigger ball, and not quite as pointy as a football. So he's done a good job with that, working that. He'll learn the pad level. The first time he gets hit, he'll be able to adjust where he's at there. But I like the fact that he's got shorter steps initially. That's a good thing as a running back. If you're a long strider in there, you got to really work on making it through those tight adjustments that you have to make. So he seems to have a nice feel, though.
We'll see. It's going to be an adjustment process from carrying a rugby ball around his whole life to carrying a football. He runs a little straight up.
Carrying pads, I think, is going to be a bigger deal than the size of the football.
But even like without pads, like you can tell like how straight up he runs and
It's
how
a great
high.
line.
How
First
high
time
the
he gets hit, he's going to change that pad level.
That's right. And how high he holds the football, which is fine, high and tight like Tiki, but it's like a different. It looks different holding the ball high for him. Like he's still trying to adjust from the way they would hold the football up and down in rugby, as opposed to. You better have those 5 points of control there. Like Kelsey's got that thing tucked away like a little baby when he's going through traffic. So, all right, let's get Learn Funniest Best here. From what we learned from the weekend, we go around the room and the control room as well. What I learned this weekend is that Topanga turned 43 yesterday. Topanga, like it's weird, like when I'm aging, I don't feel that old. And then when you meet people that you're like, or see people again, you're like, oh yeah, Topanga's 43. Man, I am so old. Like, but you've known she's the same age as you for a while. Like to myself,
and all those actors are always older than you think because they play younger characters.
Absolutely. Was one of my best friends in high school and college.
Because they're all short.
That's exactly right. And his little or her little brother, through high school and stuff, it's like, oh yeah, little. It's like talking to him yesterday. It's like, hey, man, I'm 37. I'm like, now that makes it's weird. I'm 43, but that makes me feel old.
Yeah.
Is when you're like, oh, the little brother, just like, oh no, I'm 37 years old. Like, no, I don't believe you.
I have a son turning 21 in 2 months.
How's that
How
going
about
for
that?
you? How's that going for you?
Well, give me about your friend's little brother. Okay, I feel horrible for you. A son turning 21 in a few months. That
makes you feel old.
Yeah.
My daughter turned 5.
I'm doing the math. I'm like, I had him when I was 9.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, absolutely. Sterling, what'd you learn?
I learned that a furlong is an eighth of a mile or 220 yards.
Yeah.
And the word furlong comes from a furrow long, which is the distance that could be plowed by an ox without rest. I also learned that Laos is the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia.
Oh.
No correlation, but I learned that.
That was an eclectic learning this weekend. You got some diversity in your brain these last couple days. Good for you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you read that in a book?
No, I do a thing called Wordle. Not like the word, but the country. You have to guess what the country
yeah,
looks
that's fun.
like.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly good at it, and I got Laos. I got it
Pretty
correct.
good at it.
I'm pretty good at it.
How many guesses before you got it? Because it shows you the shape, right?
Yeah, I got 4, I believe.
Oh.
Got 4.
And it tells you how far away you are.
Tells you how far away
kilometers.
you are. I thought it was Toga at first, then it was not. It was actually it was Laos, which is next to Cambodia.
We make that same mistake all the time.
It's next to Cambodia, Vietnam. Then you have China above, and but yes, Laos is the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia.
I learned about Laos Rizamit, what he did this weekend too. So we've done the same thing. What'd you learn there, Mick?
A lot. I'm not a wine guy. I went to wine country for 4 days and drank all the wines. I didn't like them.
Couples retreat, baby.
First of all, they all taste the same to me. Everybody's like, oh no, I love this one. I'm like, it tastes the same as the red one we just had.
It's a good harvest.
Yeah, and we need to get a bottle of this. I'm like, okay, sure, we need to. Absolutely. They waived the tasting fees, right? If you get 2 bottles. I'm like, well, you're still paying more. Yeah, but you don't have to pay the $70 if you spend $140. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense for them and not us. But yeah, so that's it was a great time. I learned so much about olive oil, though. There's one of the places in Oregon we went to. They harvest olives and they make olive oil, and we were there for hours, and it was great. And we lapped it up. They had bread, first of all. Most of them don't have food. I'm like, they had bread. And so we took shots of like the olive oil without the bread for a while.
A shot of olive oil?
It smelled like grass and it tasted like oil. I was like a Dodge Charger, man. I felt like I was just lubed up. And it was so much. But I learned that olives are fruits. Did not know that.
What?
Yep. Now I would have put them in the vegetable category.
Yeah.
They have a pit,
they're a stone fruit. Yeah. They're a pitted fruit.
Yeah.
Book,
so I learned.
I knew they were pitted, but I didn't know if they were fruit or vegetable. I mean, are you kidding me, man? It wasn't until I met my wife that I realized that you didn't grow pickles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I read that in a book. No, I didn't. Go ahead, Mick.
But they're grape fields are next to their olive fields. And it's crazy. They both are green and kind of black or purple. The two things. But one of the places has all Durant.
Kevin
is I might have been Durant. I'm not sure. My French over there. But it was a great time, and I learned that olives are fruits.
What did you bring back for the class?
We brought some olive oil back, and
apparently
then
2 bottles.
And then you can't carry on the bottles, so we're shipping back the wine.
Hopefully,
so when should we expect that on our front step, or
you're welcome. If I can pry it out of my wife's cold dead hands, I'll bring it here because I'm not going to drink it.
Chilled dead hands. It's
Chilled
wine.
dead hands. Absolutely.
Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I'll do my learned in the form of a question. Who was the last 22-year-old or younger to have back-to-back 40-point playoff games such as Anthony Edwards did recently?
Jason Tatum.
Good guess. Anyone else?
I was going to say LeBron James.
You're close. You
No.
could say the other bingo space that it usually is.
Jordan.
It's Kobe. So Kobe was the last under 22-year-old to do 40 plus points.
because
he wasn't making playoffs.
Yeah, because
Jordan,
Jordan wasn't making the playoffs early, and he did go to college. Kobe would have been the right
That was a bad
answer.
guess.
It was a terrible
I thought,
guess. But he said the other
wasn't as bad as my guess, though.
Yeah, he said the other free space. So I was thinking, well, free space when it comes to scoring in the playoffs is Jordan. But the 22-year-old thing should have been the indication that it wasn't Jordan, because it took him until he was 26 to learn basketball. So I'm joking. It's a joke, everybody.
But Anthony Edwards is on a
he's been
great run.
He's been unbelievable.
And it's not the guy that was in ER.
No, it's the
or
same
Revenge
guy.
of the Nerds.
It's the
Oh,
same
one?
guy.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's a second career.
Goose?
Yeah, Goose. It's a second career. He stopped flying. Apparently, he was reincarnated as a basketball player. A damn good one, too.
Also not Anthony Anderson as well, Nick. Just
Okay, it'd be cool if he played with like dog tags around his neck.
Well, you can't because, Maverick threw him in the damn ocean. Yes. Selfish. I guess his son wouldn't have wanted those dog tags. Yeah, I'm with Rooster on this one. I'd be pissed at Maverick, too. What was the funniest from the weekend there, Sterling?
I went to Whose Line Is It Anyways, the live one. It was live.
In Midland or something like
that? It was
that?
at Lawrence. It was at the,
okay.
the Lead Center.
And a lot of the original guys are there, right?
Ryan Stiles was still there.
Bill Murray's brother's on it, too, right?
I think.
Really?
I don't remember everyone's name. It was a blast, though. It was hilarious. I love also the people they picked on in the front row. Because they're trying to get it's all stand up. They don't know what they're doing. It's all
improv,
yeah. And so they're trying to get ideas from people. And they kept calling these couple of people in the front row, and they're like, "Yeah, I can't really think of anything." And they're just like, "You sat front row for an improv show and did not think you were going to get called on." But it was really, really good, and hilarious. Did a lot of old bits. It was fun. It was a really good time. Yeah,
that's cool.
I just wanted to see that. The show was edited, and forever I was like, there has to be some parts that just bomb, that aren't funny, that don't hit. They cut those out. They just do it over and over again and fill a 30-minute show. No,
nothing bombed. It was
all good.
It was all
That's
phenomenal,
crazy. That's
but it was a lot raunchier than you'd expect.
Yeah,
like there was a lot more like, okay, they're
interesting. Okay,
that's what they cut out. Is they cut out all the cuss words and the sexual innuendos that cannot get played.
Makes total sense. Yeah. What was the funniest for you, Mick?
So Nikki Glaser, I've always been a big fan. She's so funny. It's funny. She's in the ads for St. Louis.
Well,
right?
she's from St. Louis and went to KU. It's like she's a basketball player or something.
Right, yeah. Ryan Robertson.
Yes. It's like from Missouri and went to Kansas. Would you play basketball in Columbia?
Right. She was. I'm through about half of it. She's been my favorite so far, and so many great things you can't say. But one of the funniest ones was she was bagging on Tom Brady for the crypto scheme that he fell for. She was like, "How'd you fall for that?" Even Gronk was like, "Me know that not real money."
And then Gronk
that brought the house down.
And then Gronk looked at Kevin Hart and was like, "I did. I
did.
And then she was like, "See, he even knew. Even me know that not real money."
I was crying on an airplane watching that.
Gronk's into Bitcoin, which is just chewing on nickels for him. That's all he's doing. He's the first person born with CTE. She said about Gronk.
It's the most heat you've taken, Gronk, since your parents microwaved you as a baby.
Yeah, play that with Nikki Glaser in the crypto.
Tom also lost $30 million in crypto. Tom, how did you fall for that? I mean, even Gronk was like, "Me know that not real money." Like,
the funniest for you, Dylan.
If you haven't seen it, Micah Parsons sumo wrestling with CJ Stroud over.
No, I
think
haven't
in
seen it.
Tokyo it is, and it's a 1-1. There needs to be a rubber
Yeah.
match because he does win the second round.
Okay.
I think the guy let him a little bit, kind of got off balance too, kind of messing around. But this guy, a lot of comments asking for him to play guard or tackle in the National Football League because the first attempt that he doesn't even move the guy. And this is like one of the strongest DNs we have in the league. So
interesting.
It's a great video. It's on Bleacher Report.
It's like when the guy tried to fight Steven Adams and the guy's pushing and Steven Adams goes
Just
nowhere and the guy
Shannon Sharp?
starts going backwards.
Shannon Sharp, yeah, the other. I mean, it was that altercation, right? But yeah, I'm liking the C.J. Stroud and Micah Parsons.
Me too.
What they're doing.
It's awesome.
The how many points would you average in the NBA if you played? And Micah Parsons like 20. C.J. Stroud's looked like what? He's like maybe 2 or 3. He goes. Well, he's a Cowboy, so he's used to being delusional. Which was a great line by C.J. Stroud. And them just going back and forth at each other, just picking at each other, which is great. My funniest from the weekend was, I know it's surprising, it was the Tom Brady roast. We played a lot of clips. We don't have to play any more of those throughout the show, but it was the funniest from the weekend. Let's go to the best from the weekend.
It lived up to the hype, did
Dude,
it not?
It totally, it surpassed it for me.
They called it I've seen most of those. They have slowed down over the years. But they're all great. I was hoping Anthony Jeselnik would be on it. He wasn't, right?
Nope, he was not.
He is.
No, I thought
there are no boundaries there.
I thought the top 3 were Hinchcliffe, Schultz, and Glazer. They were, and you haven't seen Hinchcliffe and Schultz yet, so they're really good. But yeah, it surpassed for me. And maybe it's because it's been a long time since I've watched one of those roasts, but it definitely surpassed.
Segura and Kreischer are pretty funny.
Comparing him to Hitler.
Turned him into Hitler and a serial killer.
Somehow.
You just they reverse engineered that. Like, what should we do? Let's make Tom Brady turn him into a serial killer.
How do we get Tom Brady? How do we compare him and say he's like Hitler or a serial killer? Well, let's work from
Here we go.
Let's work from the end and go back to the beginning. Let's work this problem out on paper. What was the best from you, Dylan?
Best is yet to happen. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but Reggie Miller will be commentating Game 2 of the.
You didn't do your best, Mick?
Oh, Mick, you want to go?
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I thought we started with you and said best, Mick.
I just didn't mix because we're always on the same page. I just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that your best?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. What was your best, Mick?
So 3M makes this little device, this little noise maker. I assume there are other noises besides a cat's meow, but that's what we have. And so we've done this before on vacation with our friends and everything. And so what you do is you put this if you're in somebody's hotel room, just hanging out, having a drink, you slide it under their mattress, and this device will put out a cat's meow intermittently. And the best thing about it, it's like several different cat's meows. It's not the same one. And it's not like it does it every 5 minutes. It could be 18 minutes, then 42 minutes later, then 37 minutes later, then 25, then maybe an hour later. And it'll drive people like Jack Nicholson Shining nuts, right? It'll turn couples on each other because one will hear it, one won't.
Oh, no.
And they'll be looking for the cat all over the place. So we did that to a couple rookies on the trip, and it was great. And they were fighting with each other. One guy we were glamping. We're in RVs that were made 60 years ago. He's like, there's something wrong with your speaker. You need to check your speaker. And they're like, we don't have speakers in these RVs that were built during the Cold War. And so it was amazing. And the big reveal every time, and people just die laughing. They're like, I was going crazy. I thought my wife was messing with me, and they thought it was a phone and everything. So it's and then I believe they ended up leaving the 2 devices buried in rental cars.
Nice.
So now
Good for them.
we're paying it forward
As you should.
to people in Oregon renting.
Well done.
Some SUVs there.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Way to leave your mark.
Yeah.
Good job. Sterling, I've got 2, so I'm going to let you go, and just in case you grab one of these, unless there's a personal best for you.
Mine's a personal best.
Okay.
It's very short.
Yep. Mine, I have 2 best. Patrick Mahomes' throw at Formula One from midfield to the club level, hitting the guy right in the chest, which is amazing. And then the video of Tamba Hali working with FAU and George Karlaftis on jiu-jitsu, and the fact that Tamba
and Giselle was there too, right?
Giselle was there with her coach, and apparently Tamba just got out of a swimming pool because that man was drenched. And FAU and Karlaftis were dry. I'm like, well, somebody's working their ass off. I see that, That's why Tamba was amazing. George, FAU, learn. What was your best?
Did an escape room. And
Whoa,
a lot of
cool.
fun.
Always wanted to do that.
The one we did was a 17% escape rate. And we got to the final One, we couldn't get the final one. You only have an hour to do it.
Yeah.
So if we would have had more time, we would have got it.
Well, yeah, that's why.
Oh, they still let you out? I thought that you just stayed in there forever.
We had the clues, and we just didn't have enough time. We ended up getting the diamond and all the money. It was a bank heist. We just the cops got us.
They did.
But it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. I've always wanted to do that, but not get stuck in there forever. That'd be cool. Not a real one, like a fake one.
Yeah, we
like
knew
an exercise. I didn't want you to think that I wanted to be in a panic room or anything, or escape room or something like that, or a bomb shelter. I don't want any of that stuff. I do want to take a break. Where's that next? All right, wrapping up the hour programs. Rim Petro comes your way with Curtis Seabolt, Adam Dravetta. Tonight, Royals in action, 6:40, and then, of course, a couple of NBA games. Game 1 of Pacers and Knicks. Game 2 of the Timberwolves in Denver. See if they can take the first 2 in Denver from the defending champs. We'll see. Rudy Gobert is questionable tonight with personal reasons. So he may not play. So they would be. Has it been announced or whatever?
The Royals game has actually been moved to 6:10 from the regularly scheduled time of 6:40.
Oh, because there's rain coming up at like 9 o'clock tonight.
There's a window there.
Inclement
the beginning and the end of it.
Yeah, like 9 o'clock is when it's supposed to start raining again tonight. So I'm just glad we're getting more rain. It's really cool. Best part about rain is like you can't mow your lawn, but it does make the grass grow quicker.
You need to.
Such a cool combination. It's so cool.